Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all doing well. It is time. We have a land battle tournament, and here is the top four for the day. So Zyphos is on the top side of the bracket, awaiting his opponent. Some of the players are still playing their way through the bracket. And on the bottom side, we have Hadries against Loopy, which is going to be our first best of three of the day. So tail of the tape overall, it's going to be two best of threes, followed by a best of five final. The winner, of course, of the grand finals will be winning our cash prize, as will second place. So first and second place are essentially guaranteed a prize. But this tournament is going to be different than the previous tournaments many of you who may be new to the channel have seen. You've seen the domination mode tournaments. These are land battle tournaments. So this is basically what was the standard format in Total War Warhammer 2. So there are no capture points. It's two armies just going fisticuffs, fighting an open field, a little bit more similar to what you would experience in a campaign battle. And that is the jam. Of course, we do have community rules in place because, you know, in campaign, you can certainly cheese quite hard with running circles around the map and all sorts of funny stuff like that. But here we do have rules in place to prevent that and make the players go fisticuffs and fight. So that is it. Here are the players for the day. And the first match, I know that we have a Tzeentch pick coming in from Hadries, but his opponent Loopy, I believe, is still scheming the counter pick right now. So let's go ahead and jump on over to the battle and have some fun. So it is going to be game one. Players are deciding on their armies right now. I believe Loopy is just coming back from a little bit of a break. Obviously, the players have been playing for about 3 hours, so we're giving them a quick break before the first match, which is good because it means less people will miss the first game. Got a little bit of time for folks to join up. But look at this. It's going to be Grand Cathay against Tzeentch. So Hadries was on the first pick. Hadries came in and picked Tzeentch and banned Kislev. I would say Tzeentch is probably the strongest faction in the game. Ogres would be if we didn't put some restrictions on them. We did limit Gorgers to 2. So Gorgers are being changed to a cap of 2 in terms of community rules, and Iron Blasters are also limited to 1. So that makes Ogres still just as good as Tzeentch, but not like quite as oppressive because, you know, using 4 Gorgers is just super overpowered. So in this case, we do have our community rules kind of squashing that. But Tzeentch is still a very strong candidate, and the hardest counter against Tzeentch, at least in the testing experience myself, playing with a lot of tournament players, has been Kislev. Kislev seems to do really well against Tzeentch with their bear chariots. So Grand Cathay here, kind of interesting. Great artillery, obviously can do some nice downtown shots. Pretty decent bow units too, which in theory should trade pretty well with the blue and pink horror units. So I'm quite excited to see what they bring to the table here. Yes, yes. It's going to be great. New channel arts. Hey, Nakamura, appreciate that. Chosen One, how you doing? Yeah, so obviously there's a lot of folks who enjoy both domination. There's a lot of folks who enjoy land battles, and they might not enjoy both, which is totally fine. So you guys are in the right place because I will be having one of each tournament per week. So regardless of what you're into in terms of multiplayer, we're going to be having old school land battles and domination battle tournaments every week. So whichever one you prefer, there's going to be one sitting there for you ready to enjoy. And of course, we'll be doing streams and guides and all that sort of fun stuff. Do you think the Warhammer 2 balancing was better? So it's hard to say. Like, if you look back at Warhammer 2 balancing, when the game Warhammer 2 first came out, right, there were certainly issues, and when Vampire Coast came out, Depth Guard were like super broken. Depth Guard were basically like Gorgers when they first came out, and so were Mourngulls. Mourngulls like caused terror, and their healing was insane. Mourngulls weren't quite as good as Gorgers, but yeah, obviously when things first come out, there's going to be balance issues. You have to like kind of remember that in most RTS games, like there's maybe like in StarCraft, you have 3 factions, Warcraft 3, you have 4. Age of Empires obviously has a few more. You have like 7 or 8 in that, I think. Yeah, I can't quite remember. I think it's 8. And yeah, it's a little bit of a different game. The factions have many like similarities. They all have spearmen, they all have archers. But in Total War Warhammer, at the end of Warhammer 2, we had 15 playable factions, and now we're adding another 7 into the mix. So there's going to be 22 factions once they combine those, assuming there's no DLCs before then and now. And balancing that many factions in like an RTS environment is extremely difficult. So the fact that we even have a semblance of balance with 22 factions that are going to be on the table, I think is a really, really good sign for sure. Obviously, there's some glaring issues that I think are going to be addressed, namely Gorgers for Ogre Kingdoms, Iron Blasters. Tzeentch really needs a big looking at. I think Tzeentch is really, really overtuned with their shields, and they basically heal better than Nurgle. They're getting a constant free healing mechanic that has no cap, so I think Tzeentch needs a look at for sure. I mean, not to say they can't be beaten, but I think they're just much better than other factions. Yeah, so I'm excited to see where we are in 6 months in terms of like balance and everything like that. I know there's some great folks at CA who care about multiplayer, so we're gonna be making progress. Is it just me with land battles? Yeah, land battles are great for sure. It's the experience that we're all used to. I really do like domination as well from a ladder perspective too, though, because it's really good for newer players. Like I've had friends who have gotten on, and domination was a little bit easier for them to pick up because they don't have to know all the community rules, and it's a little bit more of a self-contained experience with no draw kiting and things like that. But obviously in land battle tournaments, you're not going to run into that, but that was kind of a problem with ladder in Warhammer 2. So yeah, obviously there's going to be changes to all of this going forward, I'm sure. I'm sure there'll be changes to domination mode to maybe make it more in line with land battles. We'll probably get more open maps, maybe change the starting resources. We don't really know. There's a lot of potential for the future of Warhammer multiplayer, but obviously we're in the earlier stages, and yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are in Game 1. It is going to be ODM Loopy, here with the Dragon-Blooded Lord leading the forces of Grand Cathay, facing off against the Great Changer of Ways, who shall be helmed by Hadri's. Hadri's, of course, multi-time faction war winner with the Skaven in Warhammer 2, so certainly a very, very savvy, strong player, facing off against Loopy, who, of course, is in the dreaded ODM clan. Great players, a great practice pool, and Loopy is a very, very strong player. Obviously, we've seen Loopy do great with High Elves. High Elves were considered to be a pretty weak faction in Total War Warhammer 2, and Loopy was one of those folks who could really go into a tournament and do extremely well using High Elves and these, underpowered factions against factions that were considered to be much stronger. So that is that. Now, looking here at the forces of Grand Cathay, it is going to be a Dragon-Blooded Lord backed up by Jade Warrior crossbowmen in the back, which I like, and they're shielded too. So if the Jade Warrior crossbowmen have to kind of sit and shoot or get shot at by some of the Tzeentch shooting like blues and pinks, they're going to be able to take it like champs. On top of that, we got some spears in the back. Front line is going to be Jade Warriors. And on the sides, we appear to have Jade Lancers and Longmaw Riders. Okay, pretty cool. Longmaw Riders are nice. They do lose out to Doom Knights up in the sky, but without Doom Knights, they're a really good deterrent for, Air Force harass, right? If Chaos wants to come in there with Furies, the Longmaw Riders can just simply lance them down and do a very, very good job. And for the spells, we do have the Jade Shield, the Dragon's Breath, and another wind spell. Now, for the forces of Tzeentch, it is going to be a front line of Forsaken. Forsaken are the intuitive counter against, your friends here, right? Because Jade Warriors lose to Forsaken. Crossbowmen will do okay damage, but Forsaken have 85 armor and Protoss shield, so they can basically endure that very well. Nothing in the Cathay roster is really good against Forsaken, in my experience, except the Terracotta Sentinels. Now, in the back, we do also have some Spawn of Tzeentch backed up by Blues, and more Spawn. Spawn are quite nasty too, because Forsaken don't have huge armor piercing, so against Jades, even though they do win, it takes some time. But if you stack the Spawn of Tzeentch on top of the Forsaken, you can sunder their armor and do some great work. Lincoln, thank you for the 10 bucks. Hey, Turn was looking for advice on Giants, and if I'm a noob for liking Khorne and Nurgle. You're not. They're both really fun factions, and though Nurgle is probably the worst faction of the game, you can still get wins, and you got to play what you enjoy. I'm kind of the same way. I play the weaker factions because I like playing an underdog, and Khorne is very strong. Khorne is a solid A-tier faction, and is a really good choice. So, appreciate that, and yeah, Giants can work in some matchups too. Now in the front, we got crossbow shooting in, going after the Forsaken of Tzeentch, and even though they are armored, you know, volume of fire is volume of fire, and this is the cool thing about land battles is that Cathay actually gets to use their harmony. So here, the entire Cathay army is getting leadership. They're getting, you know, obviously reload speed and all sorts of cool stats like that. And the Long Rider's taking an aerial fight. Going to be going in after the Chaos Fury, so one of the Chaos Fury units will be headed off here and will be dying very, very quickly. Although some of the Furies on the other side do land in. Jade Lancers here for Grand Cathay going to be intercepting those Furies, but one of them will be landing. Now, this is where things get really, really messy here for Loopy. Now that the Forsaken have gotten into the front line, you can see the Jade Warriors starting to get their bread buttered pretty good, and the dreaded Spawn of Tzeentch will be moving in. Granted, Tzeentch spawn are very, very weak against focus fire, so potentially the Jade Warrior crossbowman can do some good work. And oh no, what's going on up here in the sky? Look at this, the Herald of Tzeentch somehow gets surrounded by Longbow Riders and is going into the trash can pretty quick, although that little guy is quite fast himself with 105 speed, so he should be able to get away. Oh man, sweating bullets right now, and Loopy is just killing it in terms of value. The Grand Cathay Archers melting the blues. Jade Warriors are holding well, but we will see if the Forsaken are able to get into the back line. Some of the crossbows here are quite melted, and you have to remember much of the value that Loopy has gotten. Oh, look at that, the big fire spell as well, and the Dragon's Breath, just tons of magic going down from the forces of Grand Cathay. But much of the damage that we have seen from Loopy so far has been on Hadri's Lord. Might not be as indicative of the current kind of state of the battle and everything else that is going on there. So the Dragon-Blooded Lord flying around, dropping some pretty sweet magic. In the backfield, one of the crossbows is taken out by Spawn of Tzeentch and some Furies. We still do have two crossbows online on the far side with some Peasant Spearmen trying to fend off the Spawn and doing a very, very good job. And some of the Jade Warriors actually able to hold off the Forsaken with the Harmony bonus. So obviously getting the +6 to their melee defense and having some crossbow fire to soften up the Forsaken before the initial fighting did actually give the Jade Warriors a chance to win those fights. Because again, in a head-up fight, Forsaken will win, but a couple crossbow volleys can change that. Oh, look at the damage. Dragon-Blooded Lord melting those blue horrors in the back with the Dragon Flame. Man, that is nasty because they were all bunched up on top of the Lord. Therefore, the spray attack there is going to be doing so much work for sure. So the Dragon-Blooded Lord is back up in the sky right now. And Grand Cathay seems to be in a pretty comfortable position as their crossbows sitting here, dropping huge amounts of damage here on the Spawn of Tzeentch. Long Riders coming in for the hammer on top of the Spawn of Tzeentch. And the Peasants are just holding on like absolute champions. Obviously, a little bit of harmony going down here because the Jade Warrior crossbowmen, though they are compromised, they're still pretty tanky. And they're going to be buffing up the Peasants and other units. So I really, really do like and prefer to see Cathay in land battles. I feel like they actually like really shine and play as they were designed there, whereas in Domination they certainly struggle to kind of like have these cool executions like this. Hadri's Lord still flying around in the sky, cackling on his little disc of Tzeentch as the Longbow Riders are hunting him. That's going to be constant micro for the rest of the game for sure. Hadri's cannot afford to let that slip. But looking at the Tzeentch army, it looks like they have bounced off the bastion of Grand Cathay, as the Jade Warriors and the Spears and the Crossbowmen really were able to make quick work of the Spawn. And I think the Spawn were one of the bigger weak links in this build. Like, it kind of feels like the Spawn were the problem. They just kind of got focused down by the crossbows, and though the Forsaken are still enduring, we have a couple units of Forsaken who have still won their fights despite, you know, the focus fire. The Spawn just kind of got massacred, it would seem. That Breath Attack spell, really, really good coming in from the Dragon-Blooded Lord. A balance of power very, very heavily in the favor here of Grand Cathay. As here in the backfield, we do have the old Herald of Tzeentch getting hunted down by all of the great Longbow Riders. Just kind of drifting about on his disc, trying his best there, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Triple crossbows, all three of them are online. Longbow Riders are amazing at protecting against the demonic harass, whether it be corn dogs or flying units. But nonetheless, that is going to be game one going to the forces of Grand Cathay, defeating Tzeentch. GG, well played. And it's pretty interesting. I just am in the process of making a tier list for Domination mode, where I have Tzeentch at the top, but in land battles, Cathay becomes so much better. It becomes like a completely different beast. You can see how they can really compete against a top-tier faction like Tzeentch. And obviously, the fact that Pendulum is banned in the tournament because it's a little bit broken and it has some like bug issues with it, it makes the infantry of Cathay a lot better. And that's not to say Tzeentch doesn't have other options. You can use Pit of Shades, you can use any number of other spells, and other than that, you know, it does the trick. But yeah, the Harmony was really the name of the game. Crossbows, a couple of them got close to 1,000 value. Long Riders were great, and the Dragon-Blooded Lord got a ton of kills, and it really just was a testament to the endurance of Grand Cathay when Harmony can actually be used properly. So, there you have it. That's going to be game one in the best of three. Now we will set up the next map, which is going to be, I believe it was the Corn map. So let me go ahead and pull that. Yes, the Wastes of Corn is the next map. Players will do their picks and bans, and we will hang tight. GG, well played. In Tzeentch versus Cathay, I think banning Pendulum was the main thing. Yeah, Pendulum is just, it's so dumb. It's broken. It's just dumb. It needs to be changed. It just one-shots anything it touches. And you have no time to react. It's too fast of a cast. You just can't dodge it unless you're like Slaanesh and you're just like split-second reaction. Oh no, definitely not. I think there were some inefficiencies with the Tzeentch build. I think the spawn just didn't work out. That's 3,000 gold that basically did nothing for Tzeentch. Like Tzeentch has like Doom. They need to, in my experience, when I've seen Tzeentch really stomp Cathay in land battles, it's been using the armor. So like Chaos Knights and Doom Knights and Forsaken. Because what would that build have done against a couple Doom Knights? Doom Knights outtrade Long Marauders in the sky. Chaos Knights also outtrade Long Marauders, and they can just plow through. A couple Peasant Spears, if you just get like a single pink fire on them, it'll melt them, and the Chaos Knights would be all over the back line. I just think that the Tzeentch spawn really didn't pay for themselves. Am I in Poland? No, but my wife is Polish. Yeah. GG, well played. That was just a really nicely executed build for sure. So in this next match, we're going to be on the Waste of Corn. And it looks like Loopy is going to be playing Slaanesh here in game 2. And let's see what the pick is for these fine gentlemen. So going to the old tournament here. All right. Perfect. Yes. So Loopy is going to be going Slaanesh and banning Nurgle. Nurgle doesn't have too many good matchups, but Nurgle is a really hard counter against Slaanesh. And also a really hard counter against Khorne, I would say, as well. Like, Nurgle's good against factions that can't shoot. Or, kite them, basically. Slaanesh has to come fight them, right? So I do like that pick. So what will we see from Hadri's? I would expect to see a Kislev pick here. I think Kislev is quite good against Slaanesh. They have like a lot of good cavalry that can contest their mobility. The Kossars with the spears and bows are really good as well. There's tons of options for sure. That was a really fun battle. That was a really fun battle. Pendulum is a legitimate bug. Banning it is absolutely a correct decision. I agree. Yeah, no, it is bugged right now. Its hitbox is broken. It's not working as intended. So it's just super unfair. It's super unfair. Because basically, if we had seen Pendulum allowed in that match, there would have been 3 or 4 dead Cathay units before the fighting even started. Like, just wiped out. 100% gone. Like, subtract 2,000 value from the enemy army before the fighting even starts. Because you just bring Kairos, you get tons of Winds of Magic with your army ability, and you can just Gaze of Fate, and they can't dodge you. And, yeah. That's it. It just, like, one-shots everything it hits, especially against Cathay. It's just so dumb. Yeah, I think Doom Knights and Chaos Knights would have been really good. Like a Doom Knight Chaos Knight build with Forsaken in the front would have been super nasty for sure. Also, the Lord for Hadri's wasn't like too great. Like I would have liked to have seen the Metal Chicken, like the Lord of Change with the Fury summon, and also it's a pretty good combatant as well. So the Lord of Change can actually beat up Long Riders. He's a really good fighter. Even Kairos is okay, but I think a Lord of Change of like Metal or Lord of Change of Tzeentch would have been good. Summoning Furies to jump on top of missile pieces. Lots of good options. Lots of good options. Yeah, Tzeentch is a hard counter against Slaanesh too. But Tzeentch has already been played, so that was a really good pick from Loopy because Loopy recognized that one of the counters for Slaanesh was already picked, so the other main counter for Slaanesh is Nurgle. So then we only have single bans because there's only 7 factions, so in this case, Loopy can just then move on over and ban the other faction here. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and Pit of Shades is still a really good spell too. Pit of Shades would be great against Grand Cathay. Oh, by the way, guys, so I've been doing quite a bit of testing with the Demons of Chaos. Myself and Hadri's and Arrow and I were testing it last night, and it looks like Demons of Chaos might actually be a faction we could allow in land battle tournaments. They honestly don't seem that much stronger than other factions, and I think that Demons of Chaos certainly have their glaring weaknesses, and that their entire roster is like lightly armored, so you can kind of counterpick them. The only thing about Demons of Chaos that seems a little bit maybe borderline OP is going to be the is Be'lakor. So we're doing testing with Demons of Chaos, and after another week or two, if we're able to come to some sort of a conclusion, we will probably add Demons of Chaos to tournaments so they can be played, which I'm really excited for, because I think they're so cool. The Demon Prince characters are rad. Lincoln, thank you for the 20! Last time, I'll bug you. Is there any reason to bring Skull Crushers? Oh, please, dude. Lincoln, you can ask questions. You don't need to donate to ask questions, man. If you just tag me with like @Turin in chat, I will typically answer the question, especially if it's in between games. Is there any reason to bring Skull Crushers versus Blood Crushers? I like Khorne as a historical Total War player. Okay, so is there any reason to bring Skull Crushers versus Blood Crushers? Okay, so yeah, the mortal version, which I believe are the Skull Crushers, are a little bit better against like shooting factions. So if you're playing like and shooting cavalry factions, so I think against Grand Cathay and against Kislev, the shielded mortal riders are better because they have shields against bear sleds and against Streltsy and shooting, and they're a little bit more of a generalist. They can fight enemy cavalry better. Now on the same coin, the Skull Crushers, if you're just looking to deal with infantry, are obviously the better choice. So you need to kind of evaluate the matchup that you're in and what are you going to be dealing with. If it's Kislev, well, you're going to be dealing with bear riders, cavalry, and shooting. So you're going to want the shielded variant. If you're going against an infantry-based faction that has a little bit of armor that probably won't really have strong cavalry, then like dwarves, for example, you would bring the demonic variant with the bonus versus infantry. Yeah. Yeah, so Loopy, we're looking into it right now. Honestly, we've done quite a bit of testing, and honestly, Demons of Chaos like were losing a lot of the games. And they were doing fine, but they didn't feel as strong as Tzeentch or Ogres, to be completely fair. Be'lakor is super cool, too. Once I was but a nurgling. Hey, there you go. Yeah, we were all little nurglings once. Oh, Joey, no idea. She's pretty busy with work, yeah. Thank you again, Lincoln. Hopefully that answered your question, my friend. Yeah, it's really just depends on the matchup you're in. Now, if you're talking about campaign, it's a completely different beast. Completely different beast. In campaign, you basically can use whatever you want. It's a casual game mode, right? So you can do whatever you want in campaign. Just have fun there. Yeah, they both fill different roles. One's a little bit more niche, you know, and that's that. That is that, my friends. So it is going to be Slaanesh versus Kislev here, which I think is Kislev favored, but not by too much. I think that Slaanesh can definitely win this matchup. Like if Kislev makes a couple mistakes, and that's the whole thing against Slaanesh, if you slip up like once and Slaanesh catches you in a bad way, you can get like steamrolled. But if the Slaanesh player takes bad engagements, they lose super quick. They're very much like an all gas, no brakes type faction, which I think really encapsulates. I think Creative Assembly did a really good job capturing the essence of Slaanesh and Khorne, Tzeentch as well. You know, Tzeentch has had a history of being a little bit overpowered in 40k and stuff. So, so yeah, that's funny. Nurgle needs some love. Nurgle needs like missile resist and more like durability because they're not as durable as Tzeentch, in my opinion. Turin, play as Cathay, bring heroes without spells, hide them for Master of the Elements. Yeah, you absolutely can do that. Some people can do that. Yeah, it's not a bad option. Thanks for all the hard work for the community and helping us have fun. You're really dedicated. You bring a lot of smiles. Hey, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Those are some kind words. I'm living the haggard life of a plague bearer at this point. Well, hopefully not too close to a plague bearer. Hopefully you're doing all right there. Lincoln, you're a multiplayer guy. Campaign's great. Yeah, not your thing. I hear you. Can't wait for the next Legendary Lords tournament. This Friday, we're actually going to be having a faction war. So on Friday, there's going to be one representative of each faction, just like we did in the days of old, and it's going to be super, super fun. Really excited for that. Really, really excited. I really want to learn Slaanesh, but yeah, Slaanesh is a hard faction to play, but they're really fun. Like, Slaanesh is super fun to play. Just started my journey into Warhammer multiplayer after being exclusively single player, falling in love with it, though. I feel like a little dirty manning ogres. Oh, you feel a little dirty manning ogres. Okay. You shouldn't. If you follow the tournament restrictions, like limiting Gorgers to 2 and Iron Blasters to 1, like ogres are still S tier, but they're not like, you know, like super, super OP. Like other factions can fight them. Gorgers are the main problem. Like Gorgers are just an unholy nightmare. Any suggestions for those of us that want to get involved in tournaments? Yeah, so the first step is going to be, let me get you guys a link while we're waiting. The first step in getting involved in tournaments is joining this Discord here. This is where I announce all of my tournaments. Now, my website is currently under maintenance. We had to rework everything. We had some issues on the back end. But my website will be a hub that will have all tournaments and guides and information about how to get involved as well. But for now, joining the Discord is your best bet. I announce tournaments there. People discuss strategy, builds, all that kind of stuff. So there's a link for you guys in chat if you want to get involved. Yeah. Turin, so in your testing of Khorne Infantry versus Slaanesh Cav, let's see. Turin, so in your testing, Khorne Infantry plus Slaanesh Cav plus Tzeentch shooting is not too strong. It's not too bad because they don't get any of the mortals, right? So the Khorne, you just get the bloodletters. In Slaanesh, like you're not like, they're good, but it's not that bad because everything is lightly armored. Everything. So you can basically be like, okay, like I'm just going to bring a ton of anti-light and we're going to have answers for most things they bring. Yeah. Well, Faction Wars Faction Wars will always be land battles. Yeah. It's a land battle format. What's so fantastic about Gorgers? They're extremely overtuned in terms of their damage. Like they heal, they have their unbreakable, they have stock, they have like 54 speed. They annihilate things that are supposed to counter them. So you can take a Gorger and put it up against an elite halberd unit that costs like 1,300 gold, and they'll beat them. You can put a Gorger, which costs 1,100 gold, against Warbear Riders of Kislev, which are anti-large specialists that cost 1,600 gold. And guess what? The Gorgers like just about beat them consistently. Like Gorgers are just so overpowered. And when you have Scrag there buffing them with the constant map-wide healing, it's just such BS. I really hope that Gorgers could just get squashed into oblivion and nerfed. Yeah, they're just like, they're horrible. Horrible to play against. Tzeentch is probably stronger under Eternity rules. Yeah, I would say so, Guac. I would say so. We did see a convincing Cathay victory over Tzeentch, though, which was really, really cool to see in that first game. And yeah, the players are still picking their armies. So we're just kind of hanging out now. We'll be there relatively soon. I got to see your painted old world stuff. Yeah, you know, my Empire army isn't that good, nicely painted. When I painted my Empire army, I wasn't a very good painter, so they're pretty haggard looking, but I mean, they still look cool enough. My best painted army is my Death Guard. Yeah, my Death Guard Space Marines. Yeah. Why don't Legions of Chaos get Mortals in multiplayer? Well, it kind of makes sense. If the roster is Demons of Chaos, why would you get non-demonic units? It's supposed to just be the demons. Yeah. Have you considered doing a long-form faction war tournament like Dawn of War 2 community did? And I would consider that. Centrifuge, something else we're going to be doing is actually doing a Swiss League. So for anybody who wants to play in tournaments but maybe doesn't want to commit like 3-4 hours, I'm going to be doing a Swiss League starting up pretty soon for both formats, for Land Battle and Domination, where you play one like best of 5 per week. And over the course of 6 weeks, there's like a winner determined. So yeah, so we'll be starting that. As soon as my website's back up and running, which it should be in the next 4 or 5 days, I just have to repost everything, including the blogs and all that. But once that's up and running, we'll be doing all that. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're here in Game 2 between the forces of Slaanesh, who shall be led by ODM Lupi, and Hadries. Hadries, of course, not in a clan. I think he kind of works with QSA every now and then, but he is bringing the forces of Rasputin and Kislev. So it's going to be Inkari. Inkari is pretty darn awesome. Hard-hitting, super fast. And in terms of the spells, let's see what kind of kit was brought here. So Willing Prey, we do have the Lash, Acquiescence, and Slicing Shards. So 2 damage abilities and 1 debuff. So we got Fiends of Slaanesh. These guys actually do reasonably well against both infantry and cavalry and are very, very quick with 95 speed. The front line is going to be Shielded Marauders of Slaanesh, and up in the forest we do have Seekers, Hellstriders, a big Slaaneshi cavalry corps. Seekers, of course, are probably one of the better generalist cavalry units here. So they pack a ton of armor piercing, can certainly trade well with Slaanesh cavalry if they get the advantageous charge, and do have the devastating flanker. Now, these are one of the best units against Kislev because they are armor piercing, they're really, really quick, and they're great at chewing through Kislevite armor. These are the Slaanesh Furies, which do have armor piercing. The Slaanesh Furies, or Furies for other Chaos factions, do not have that. They each have something different, like Nurgle has Poison, Khorne has Frenzy, these ones have AP, and Tzeentch have Protoss Shields. Hellstriders to the back, and now looking at the forces of Kislev, it is going to be a front line of armored Kossars, and what's really scary for Slaanesh in this matchup is the fact that the entire Kislev roster can basically shoot you, and Slaanesh is super weak against being shot at. So this is very, very strong for sure. So we got armored Kossars into the sunset. Iceguard Glaives here in the center. Look at that. That's really cool. Yeah, check that out. Iceguard Glaives, we got 1, 2. We do also have some Kossar Spears, and on the far side, more Kossar Spears. Very much feels like old school Lothern Seaguard kind of play, which probably will be the way to play against Slaanesh when the High Elves are added back into the game here. So we got Kossovite Dervishes, more Dervishes. We have Kostaltin here in the bushes with his healing, and more Dervishes as well. So yeah, just going for the cheap cavalry, because obviously Dervishes aren't bad in combat. They can fight Slaanesh cavalry and hold them in place while your missiles kind of try and shoot them to pieces here. So that is it. Let's get this party started. Good luck, have fun to both these players. Let us know in the comment section below or in chat who you think is going to be winning this match. And here we are. It is the forces of the Dark Prince. Yes, Inkari. I gotta learn how to say those names correctly. Yes, power overwhelming. Protoss Shield, super OP. Protoss are kind of like the steamroll faction for StarCraft 2, which is kind of fun. That's who I played. I was a Protoss and StarCraft StarCraft main, a Terran main myself. Now, Gorgers like cost 1,100. I mean, I think you should either nerf them if you're going to keep the same price point, or increase their cost to be like 1,500. Yeah, instead of 1,100. Yeah. So, Fiends are the one unit I really want to keep an eye on. I haven't been able to see them too much in action. A lot of players just go with the cavalry, but Fiends are much tankier by Slaanesh standards. They do have a little bit of armor, and on top of that, they have 7,000 HP, whereas if you look at the Slaanesh cavalry, they have 5,700, and they have like no armor. So Fiends do give you a little bit better staying power in some of those fights, and I believe they do have the Soporific Musk as well, so they are going to be debuffing the stats of whatever they're fighting, which is cool. Yeah, the Lash is 100% AP, but it doesn't do a ton of damage, but it's still a pretty strong ability. I'm surprised we're not seeing more of the Bear Chariots. Now, the Bear Chariots of Kislev going to be running in. These Marauders are pretty much fresh fish. Granted, Slaanesh is so quick at responding that the cavalry should be here pretty soon, but the Bears are going to be running through these infantry. Should get quite a few kills as the Bears plow through, but Hadri's is going to want to retreat pretty quickly. Yeah, get some nice damage. Certainly nothing terribly devastating, but even still, the Bariots will be able to pull back and shoot while they also retreat. Now, the big thing is going to be seeing the alpha strike of damage that Kislev is going to be able to unleash between the armored Kossars as well as some of the bows in the back, the Kossar spears. That's going to be some nasty stuff. And Light War Sled's getting caught by the 100 speed cavalry, but I think they should be able to get back. And the Kossars are going to be unleashing pistol fire as well as the Kossar spears in the back. And honestly, you could just leave the bear sleds right here and just let the Kislevites probably like shoot and peel those guys off. Now up in the high ground, Furies. Ooh, nice charge here. Furies getting into the Kossovite dervishes, also getting a little bit of a shroud from the tree line. And it looks like the dervishes will be pulling back at this point while Slaanesh is basically mounting their big invasion here on the side. What is that going to be? Ice Sheet. Interesting. So Ice Sheet coming down from the Kislev Ice Witch, or the Ice Maiden, and that's going to be slowing them down to 75 speed, making them a little bit more manageable, I suppose. But here on the charge, the Seekers of Slaanesh, a very expensive unit, are going to be getting hammered by a lot of firepower. Oh, and Slicing Shards is going to be coming down from Inkari as well. This is going to do big damage, but the Ice Guard Glaives are going to be hustling. These ladies are pretty quick, and it looks like they are able to avoid that. Yeah. That spell does a ton of damage. If you had stayed on that, it would have been brutal. Now, Inkari does get gadded down pretty good by the focus fire here of Hadri's, and Inkari's going to be peeling back, going after the light war sleds, but yeah, definitely running away here is going to be the prudent call. Seekers of Slaanesh taking a head-on charge here I don't think is going to go super well. The Kossars and Kislev in general are super tough to break. Trying to alpha strike them, in my experience, hasn't been terribly effective, and oh no, the dreaded tactical reserves here from Loopy, leaving, 1,000 gold unit here in the back. The Fiends of Slaanesh are just Netflix and chilling and certainly not going to be helping. A big lash goes down, and Kari getting in once again, getting some nice pressure here on the flank against the Kossars, but this unit needs to be active. These Fiends of Slaanesh are very, very needed here in this pitch battle because Slaanesh is actually doing a pretty good job pulling the value back. They're currently down by about 1,500, but imagine if they had another 1,000 gold unit fighting here in this battle. Could be very different, right? This whole flank for Kislev could have been overwhelmed that much faster, and now the Furies are going to be jumping onto the Ice Guard Glaives here in the back, and now this is really good for Slaanesh because the Ice Guard Glaives actually are anti-large, right? And the Chaos Furies are infantry-sized. Therefore, the Halberds aren't going to be bestowing any sort of a bonus against these guys, and they're able to take down some really, really solid units there. So yeah, 3 minutes into the battle, and the Fiends of Slaanesh have been activated. Is it too late? It looks like Hadri's is getting a ton of stopping power. Like, the layers and layers of Kislevite shooting here is so darn good. The Kossars are tough. They shoot. Lash of Slaanesh getting some okay damage there, but more importantly, triggering the army passive. And, oh man, I look away for a second, and like, Inkari is just like hiding in the bushes like near death. Looking pretty grim. Fiends of Slaanesh going to be diving into the front. They should do very well against armored Kossars. They have a ton of armor piercing, and had they been here earlier, these armored Kossars could have very much have fallen here. But obviously now it's going to take a little bit of time for the Fiends to do their thing. And now that there's less targets on the battlefield overall, it's also going to be much easier for the Kossars of Spears of Hadri's to actually shoot into the Fiends of Slaanesh and really get their value. But here comes Inkari going in for the kill on old Rasputin. Salix Lullaby is active. Acquiescence is also activated, going to be lowering the melee defense. And this is like a good comeback option here for sure. If Inkari could get like really lucky and goon Kostelton here, that could be very strong. But the Ice Guard moving in with the Glaives. These ladies are not messing about. Going to be taking down the Greater Demon, also applying Frostbite. So the speed of Inkari is now 60. Army losses is kicking in, and Slaanesh is going to be falling to the champions of Kislev. Mankind endures, as there go the demons of the Dark Prince. Yeah, so the tactical reserves was really rough. Like, Slaanesh is an Alpha Strike faction. You need to have everything hitting at once to really, get those old juices flowing. And one thing I didn't like about Loopy's build, I think it needed some Demonettes. Not necessarily basic Demonettes, but the Exalted Demonettes just absolutely massacre Kislevite infantry. Yes, they're very squishy, but so is everything. Marauders are basically just going to be wet noodles in the front against Kislevites and their armor, so yeah, the tactical reserves were quite painful. And aside from that, really good shooting. I mean, everything in the Kislev army shoots, and clearly Hadri's has been practicing and knows this matchup. Just a ton of Kossars, each of them generating 700, 800, just beautiful work across the board. And yeah, GG, well played. That was a really good match. Super fun for sure. Fast and furious. Slanesh either wins fast or loses fast. That's how they roll. And it was fun. All right. So now for the last map here, let me go ahead and pull up the maps that I have set for the tournament. And we are going to do the Blasted Lands. Blasted Lands. Here we are. Very good. So now the players will do their picks and bans as we go forward. GG, well played. Both players saying to one another, which is always great. And one sec. Let me go ahead and tell these guys that they'll be playing on the top side of the bracket. Okay, so we got Big JP, so we do have an update. So let's go to the bracket and update that. So it's going to be Zyphos facing off against Big JP. All right, cool. So that's going to be our next match. We are, of course, in our first best of 3 of the day, which is Hadries versus Loopy. And we will see who emerges victorious heading on to the grand finals. So thank you all for joining once again. It's been a lot of fun. Some great fast and furious matches so far. And now the players will do their picks and bans for the last stage here of the game. Hey, Avenger, how you doing? Turin, I cannot wait for the beast. Dude, I want the Old World faction so badly. I want them so bad. You know, I never thought I would miss old Karl Franz so badly, but I'm so excited to just get in there with my Sigmarites. I'm an Empire main. That's my favorite faction. And just take down some of these demons. Oh, it's going to be so good. Any new rules for land battles? Yeah, there are some. I mean, obviously, like, there's no, like, huge changes. Like, each faction has its own unique limits. You just have to refamiliarize yourself with that. Hey, Peter, I'm glad you're enjoying the battles. Slanesh, yeah, they did finish fast, that's for sure. I need my Tomb Kings being... Yeah, Tomb Kings are going to be great. Is Slanesh the worst land battle faction? No. Let's see. So, what are Slanesh's really bad matchups? Okay, so if I'm thinking about this, Slanesh is really... I think Slanesh is kind of weak against Kislev. I think Slanesh gets hard countered by Nurgle, like hard countered. But Slanesh against Cathay, I don't know. Like, honestly, Slanesh is a weird one. I can't really, like... I feel like they have a ton of potential, but maybe people haven't unlocked it yet. We have Garethos. Garethos from Warcraft 3 is in chat. I love it. So yeah, we've had 2 victories for Cathay and for Kislev today, which is quite exciting. You know, I always like the human factions. When the old world comes out in tabletop, I will probably collect a Cathay army and a Kislev army. Those are going to be the 2 factions I collect. God, I'm going to have so many plastic toys in my house. I already have like a huge collection. I have a full Chaos Space Marine army. I have a full Death Guard army. I have like a modestly sized Empire army. It's not that big. But man, I need to I don't want to become a hoarder and just have all this stuff, you know? Oh my god, I don't want to be hoarding. Turin, I've been playing multiplayer, and now I'm sitting at 7 wins and 1 loss in domination. Very nice, Pious Skeleton. Very good. Playing mostly with Khorne and some Ogres, and just started with Tzeentch. Any tips for Tzeentch versus Kislev? It's your hardest matchup for sure, man. It's your hardest matchup. In that case, if you're not using Pendulum, how do you do, I've yet to be able to figure that one out. Like, I think just massing blues and pinks is the way to go, and then mixing in a couple flamers of Tzeentch to shoot the chariots down, using Gaze of Fate to snare them when they charge with Kairos, really, I think is your best bet. Hey, Turin, hope you're having a lot of fun. Can anyone join a tournament? Anyone can join. We had players who, it was their first time playing today, and we have players like the folks here in the top 4 who are long-time Total War Warhammer tournament veterans. So it goes all directions. It goes all directions. God, I know. I'm just going to be hoarding models. Oh, I have so much plastic toys in my living room already. I'm going to have to get a bigger shelf for them. Any thoughts when the old world factions will release in Total War Warhammer 3? For Warhammer 2, it took about a month, but I would imagine it's going to take longer this time around because I think the map is so much bigger. So probably I would guess 3 months. Yeah, that would be my guess. I bet you we'll get a DLC for Warhammer 3 before we'll get the old world factions added back in. We'll probably get something, I don't know, like Chaos Dwarves. Who knows? The main question is, how many play tables do you have? Only one. I have one huge Warhammer gaming table that my wife bought me a couple years back for my birthday. Yeah, it's a really nice one. It's like a foldable table, so I can move it outside. I can have it inside. It's really, really quite nice. If only I had some people to play Warhammer with in my hometown. Why can't some of you guys live in my hometown so we could play Warhammer together? I literally have no one here. So I lived in Los Angeles before, and I moved to my hometown, which is an exponentially better place to live. But the only thing it's missing is a good Warhammer community. There is none. So I'd have to drive like 30, 40 minutes to go find a game. Whereas before it was like, oh, a 5-minute drive over to my local game store, and I was like, boom, good to go. Yeah. Yeah, Pious Skeleton, that's your hardest matchup, though. Tzeentch is like favored against everyone except Kislev. So, yeah. Oh, no. You know, Hayden, I think Wood Elves are going to be really good against Slaanesh. And the reason why is that Wood Elves, okay, hear me out. Slaanesh pays a ton of gold for armor piercing. Wood Elves don't have armor. Wood Elves have super cheap high leadership spear units, which can fend off the Slaanesh cavalry. They have great shooting to just melt Slaanesh. Their cavalry are very hard hitting, and they can match Slaanesh cavalry. I actually think Wood Elves would be favored here. Quick Strike says, as someone with nearly 300 dinosaur figures and somewhere around 100 Transformers, I feel you. Yeah, the hoarding space issue. Yeah. My favorite faction in campaign? Oh, I really like Slaanesh in campaign. I had so much fun yesterday in the head-to-head campaign. I had so much fun. MG. Hey, you live in Southern California? Yeah. I live in Ventura County. Somewhere in that area. Yeah. Embrace your inner LA resident, Turin? No. No, I'm too weak. How would you go about dealing with Slaanesh as Nurgle if Slaanesh goes? Are you talking? So Derek, if you can tell me whether you're talking about land battles or domination, I can answer your question because it's very different. So look, oh my God, we're getting a Nurgle pick in the top 4 of a tournament. It's going to be a wild Nurgle pick. Oh my God, it's going to be Cathay versus Grandpa Nurgle. Oh yeah, talk dirty. This is going to be fun. Dude, I'm loving the picks we're getting here today. We're getting like every single faction picked more or less. When do you think they'll release Steam Workshop? Probably like a month or two. I have no idea about mod stuff really. Set up your game table and then cast your game and have the community play with the other side of your moving pieces. Yeah, that's kind of funny. I'll just be in my backyard shirtless with my Potbelly, just hanging out, live streaming. Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, I'm trying to see my favorite Slaanesh campaign build. Okay, so in Slaanesh campaign, my favorite thing to do is just to get a ton of cultists and exalted demonettes. Like, I feel like that's a really cost-effective stack that just like grinds super well and is like really like actually easy to get. You can get it super quick too. So that's how I play it because it's just lazy. I don't have to micro cavalry. I can just like get the exalted demonettes and just steamroll people. Yeah, and then you have the cultists and like who can summon Keepers of Secrets to kill monsters, and you can also have Inkari just snipe all the monsters too. What domination mode changes do you want to see as a caster? It's tricky. My biggest thing with domination mode is I really want to see bigger open field maps. I like the lane maps, but I'm not like in love with them. I would like there to be like Warhammer 2 like land battle type maps that are like Oakenhammer, Galbaraz, where it's like open with objectives on it, and then slightly bigger starting funds. I would like their starting funds not to be like way bigger, but like maybe like, you know, instead of 7,000, you start with like 9,000 and then like slightly less reinforcement points. I think that would be like the sweet spot that a lot of land battle players who don't like domination would be like, hey, this is actually kind of fun. It feels like a land battle again, but we have objectives to keep us honest. That for me is like the big thing. Lincoln, was Beastmen update good for them in multi? Yeah, they were. The Beastmen got super strong in multiplayer. They were like an S tier faction. Yeah. Dude, I can't believe we're getting a Nurgle versus Grand Cathay pick here. Oh, this is so exciting. What were Hadri's options? So he played Kislev and he played Tzeentch. So the two like hardest counters against Nurgle are gone. And Grand Cathay is the only faction with shooting left. I do think Grand Cathay is favored against Nurgle, but I don't think it's that bad. I think it's like 55-45 for Cathay. But Hadri's also said he hasn't been practicing Cathay, so he might not be super proficient in this matchup. Yeah. Yeah, Hadri's. I love the Skaven. I do. I really like the Skaven and Tabletop. They're super fun. I have a couple friends who play them. Can you cheese with Cathay? Bring heroes without spells and hide them? Yeah, you can. It's okay. It's like not as good as it sounds. Because if you have a caster and 2 support characters and a Wu Jing, you're going to be getting 40% extra damage, which is cute, but you're also paying a ton of gold to get that. So, yeah. Yeah. Those would be my changes for domination mode that I'd like to see. Because then it's like, you can keep the lane maps in domination. You still have those, which is great. It's fun. They're a unique style, but like I would like to have open maps where it's like a normal land battle, because then people won't feel like it's like such a starkly different game mode. I think that would go a long way for unifying the community. Yeah. Yeah, Beastmen were really strong at the end of Warhammer 3. They were probably like one of the strongest factions. Yeah, or Warhammer 2, excuse me. You're saying you have to use a special type of shelf to protect your miniatures against your cats? Yeah, the cats are quite curious creatures. We don't have any cats, so we just have a dog, so she's not one to go knock over shelves and things like that. Yeah, like make domination a little bit larger in scale. Like, so then it feels like you have an actual army marching out. You could even do something like you have like 9,000 and then you only have like 3 or 4,000 in reinforcement points, which I think could be really cool too. This would all require testing. Like if Creative Assembly were to do like a beta, like testing this out, I think that'd be really good. But like, how would you guys like think about like 4,000? Okay, so you have 9,000 starting gold and then like 4,000 for reinforcements. It's not that different from a land battle. Then it's basically the same. Like you have like 12,400 in a land battle. That would be like 13 or 14,000 with reinforcements. And then you, yeah. And maybe units can't be resummoned once they die. Like I think that could also be good too. I know that's something a lot of people don't like, is being able to resummon or unsummon units and get a refund, because it can be abused. Because you can bring in a Tzeentch cultist, summon a pink horror, which costs 700 gold, unsummon him, get like 400 back, refresh his items, and then just keep spam summoning him and doing that over and over. There's a lot of like cheese you can do with the unsummoning thing. Yeah. Have you run into an exploit on ladder where you can swap? Yeah, I have. Yeah, I have. Unfortunately, that'll be something that hopefully gets fixed. If somebody does that to you, just dodge. Just dodge. I'm really curious about the builds. I really, really want to click on the builds and look. Loopy's changing his color scheme. Hadri's very cautiously picking here. Florian, uh-oh, you're coming. Well, unfortunately, ladder's broken right now, so the rankings don't really mean too much. Like the top like 30 or 40 players on ladder have bugged scores. They're not even on, like, it's just so haggard. Dude, I really want to see what Loopy's going to do with Nurgle. That feels like such a risky pick. Like, I was expecting a Khorne or Ogre Kingdoms pick from Loopy. Like, hardcore. Like, I don't know why we didn't see those. Maybe he's been practicing Nurgle, or maybe he's just a champion to the people. Who knows? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to make a video on it soon. I'm just really trying to consolidate my thoughts before I put something out, because I don't want to just put out something that's like incomplete as it pertains to my analysis. So, although I tend to just rant in my videos, like a lot of folks who do YouTube will write scripts and things like that and have like structured thoughts, but me, I like to kind of rant and just like have a free flow, you know, just get into a flow state, which makes the videos a little bit less aesthetically pleasing, but it's just how I work. How many color schemes are there per faction? It's different. Each faction has a different amount. It's based on their campaign. So how many ever, you know, ogre sub-factions there are, that's how many there's going to be. So interesting forest here. Yeah, kind of a cool map. Obviously, Cathay can deploy a little bit further back here. There's a little bit of a terrain for Nurgle to kind of hide in here. So taking a look at the forces of our ODM champion, Loopy. It's going to be a Herald of Nurgle up in the sky, which is 100% the right choice. If you go with the Big Chungus, what happens is he just gets absolutely destroyed by the shooting of Cathay. So yeah, Herald's good, great spells. Cultist of Nurgle with the summon. Frontline's going to be Forsaken of Nurgle, backed up by a bunch of Nurglings, and then Rotflies up in the sky. I like this build a lot. Rotflies have a ton of armor piercing. Now, this build has one glaring weakness. If Hadri's had come in with a double Terracotta Sentinel build, this would have been GG. Nurgle would have lost. Like, Nurgle's biggest weakness is actually large monsters. They really struggled to take them down. And 2 Terracotta Sentinels could honestly solo a large portion of this entire army. Like, 100%. 100% indeed. But Forsaken are quite effective here. The Rotflies can be good. Thankfully for him, though, Hadri's didn't bring Terracottas. Now, looking at the forces of Hadri's, it's going to be a big Harmony line. It's going to be Jade Warriors in the front, who do hold back Forsaken okay, especially with Harmony, backed up by the Jade Warrior Crossbowmen. We kind of saw this earlier, right? We have Zhao Ming, the Iron Dragon, with Final Transmutation and the Dragon's Breath. We have an Astromancer with the Bare Bones kit. Oh, this is kind of cool. So check this out here from Hadri's. Hadri's going in with the double support caster. So Astromancer number 1 has the Master of the Elemental Winds and the Cloak of Po Mei. Wow, look at that. And that's going to give 60% power recharge. Man, that is really, really sweet. Okay, I'm taking notes. That's some really cool shit. And aside from that, I think there's a second caster. Looks like it's going to be another Alchemist. And the Alchemist is just going to have the Master of the Elemental Winds. So basically, these 2 Cathay characters are just going to be, you know, combat support, which honestly, they're not bad. 300 weapon strength. And yeah, giving a ton of extra magic damage to the breath attack of Zhao Ming and to the Final Transmutation. So in total right now, Cathay is going to be getting 30% extra damage from their spells, which I think is really, really rad indeed. Yep, and Long Marauders, a single cannon in the back to be shooting downtown into the old forces of Nurgle, and a couple spears, and that appears to be it. I love the build. I think it's really fun. I do think, I think if Hadri's plays a really tight game, I think that he will have the advantage based on the armies I'm seeing here. I just like Nurgle. It's like, I don't know. I've been struggling with Nurgle a lot in land battles. I feel like I have to definitely work pretty hard. Although, like, on that same note, if the Rotflies are able to get on top of the Jade Crossbowmen and the spears can't quite peel them, or maybe the spears are distracted by something else, then the battle could certainly go for Big Papa Nurgle. Yeah, we will see. So you're saying you wish Cathay had a melee hero. I bet you they'll get one eventually, for sure. They'll get a melee hero. Nurgle does have a nice little terrain setup, though. They have this like nice tree line. This map is obviously a good Nurgle map. You know, they have some obstruction. Cathay could deploy right here, and the cannons would have a better line of sight for sure. But even here, it's not going to be terrible. The cannon can just shoot Rotflies, and that's going to be good. Maybe you could add a couple of compasses for even more spell mastery. You could get a little bit hog wild for sure. You know what I think a build would be really disgusting against Nurgle? Would be to have a Terracotta Sentinel box with Zhao Ming and like Final Transmutation and spamming magic elemental, like Master of the Elemental Winds, to get like 50% more damage. I feel like Nurgle would really struggle against that. I feel like they really would. But again, Nurgle's also very weak to shooting, so it's like, it's hard to decide. Cathay's like, oh, all these options. What am I going to do here? What am I going to do? Yes, the mage's ability won't work if he's in melee, but if he sits out of melee, Cathay will be getting a ton of Winds of Magic, so I would imagine he'll sit back, but at some point, if need be, you can send him into combat. He's still an okay character. I don't think they have much armor, though. Yeah, they're pretty lightly armored, so they could still get chewed up by Forsaken pretty badly. Deployment looks good. No white line camping for Cathay. And Nurgle's just cackling. They're just going to be charging up with their Rotflies. And we will see what the foul forces of Nurgle can do. Yeah, Nurgle really struggles against SEMs. Like, I had a tournament match where basically, not a tournament match, but a ladder game. Not ladder, it was just like I was playing with someone. I think it was Reginald Puggington, who's a really strong player. And he had an Elemental Bear with Kislev, and I killed his entire army. All he had was the Elemental Bear. I had 2 Beasts of Nurgle, plus like a Herald, and then like 2 Cultists, and the Bear literally got like 6,000 value and killed all of them. I was like, okay, well, I guess Nurgle just can't kill big monsters unless they have a great Unclean One. Which, of course, is really good at killing big monsters, but, you know, it's risky to bring against shooting factions. Yeah. Yeah, double Terracotta seems like it'd be the way. Yeah, the Rotflies might be okay. It's hard to say. I mean, they can trade pretty well against the Long Marauders. The Harmony is active, and there's like a... What is this stench? What is this going on over... Oh, is that like Harmony? It looked like there was like some Nurgle stench going down. But the cannon will get some reload speed, which is one of the coolest parts about it. And, yep, you can see there's all sorts of Harmony going down here. So how much are they going to be getting in total? Yeah, look at that. Plus 24 reload skill. Super nice. Oh, and the Rotflies get pounded. Look at the Grand Cathay cannon. A thing of beauty right there. So the Rotflies are going to be pulling back. Man, picking Nurgle in the top 4 of, you know, a relatively competitive tournament, that is a big, big balls move here from Loopy. Another shot coming in. Rotfly is able to avoid that. Hadri's going to be switching targets. You can see the line of sight on the cannon. So if I have it like selected, it's really cool in Warhammer 3. I can actually click this and see what the players are targeting in replays or in live cast, which I think is a nice feature for sure. A nice feature for sure. Cannon still going in. Another Rotfly does get hit, although it looks like they still have maintained their 10 models. So maybe we could see a heal going down in the Rotflies to make sure they don't lose any models. But so far, Hadri's has got to be pretty happy with his cannons. And Nurglings are being sent in the front, which I don't know if I like that. I think the best way to use the Nurglings would be to flank with them, like have them in Vanguard and move them around the sides. Because if you can tie up the Peasant Long Spearmen with Nurglings, which the Nurglings actually win that fight, you would then be able to use your Rotflies a little bit more effectively. And now the Cathay like Harmony line is just going to be so foul. Oh my god, the Nurglings are just getting pounded to dust. Cannon shooting into the Rotflies. Are they going to make any hits? It looks like they do tickle the pickle of those Rotflies up in the sky. And Zhao Ming, the Iron Dragon, waiting amongst his troops. Zhao Ming is so cool. He's basically like Uncle Iroh from The Last Airbender. But yeah, the first Nurglings, oh my god, like the Cathay DPS, when Harmony actually works with their crossbows, is so good. Like, look at these Nurglings just getting pounded to dust. Now, this is pretty standard fare for Nurgle to just kind of get punished like this on the approach, but man, look at the Forsaken! Just like the concave fire from all these Jade crossbows is so good. And now the Brave Longbow is going to be going in to try and intercept the Rotflies, it looks like. I think a Long Marauder could easily defeat a single Rotfly. I think 2 would probably win. Oh no! Oh no! Loopy, what have you done? He landed all the Rotflies and his Lord, and then Zhao Ming drops a fat, chunky Final Transmutation on top of all of them, and then switches into the Mighty Dragon. Now the dragon is going to be descending from the skies, swarming down here on the rotflies. Man, oh man, that was a beautiful play there. Hadri's up 4,000 to 600 here. That final transmutation also had an extra 30% damage on top of it, the cannon shooting in. And honestly, guys, it looks like the forces of Nurgle are getting absolutely massacred by the Iron Dragon. That cast on that blob, like Hadri saw it coming and preemptively did it. That was so smooth. Longbow Riders are just taking them apart, and man, Nurgle just getting absolutely just ground to dust here. And that was a bold strategy, picking Nurgle against them in the first place, I think. But also, I think the execution was a little bit off. And look, the Breath of the Dragon can be cast in dragon form, roasting those Nurglings off while the spears saturate out. Nice cast by Nurgle there. Huge damage on the Jade Crossbowman. That spell is so good for Nurgle, but that bounce of power is looking super grim. Definitely sending in all those units into the front line. Like, I don't know why all the Rotflies went in to attack a Jade Warrior in the front. That felt like a really weird play for sure. And yeah, Forsaken eventually win, but like now they're just being Last Samurai super hard. Iron Dragon is just going to get out here and kill this cultist, and the cultist has already basically gone down. In my experience, Nurgle versus Grand Cathay, you want to be moving in with 2 cultists and summoning Plague Bearers on top of the Jade Crossbowmen. Like, have them on horseback. Then suddenly Cathay isn't able to get its value. Like, I felt like Nurgle just walked right and did exactly what Cathay wanted that game. And Hadri's punished him super bad for it, super bad. I've been able to win this matchup with Nurgle against very strong players. But I don't think this Nurgle build was up to the task of winning here. It just looked a little bit janky, and that execution was tough. Tough for sure. But again, the game's very new. Everybody's learning here. The Iron Dragon just cleaning up, and a couple Nurgle units on the sides trying to fight to the bitter end. We do have the Herald of Nurgle battling here, but man, oh man, Cathay's Daka with all these harmonious crossbowmen is so good. Like, those Forsaken just getting put in a straight trash can by the crossbow fire. Even though they don't have armor piercing, like, who needs the Iron Hail Gunners when you have, like, just the volume of fire and the reload speed and all that stuff? It is insane. Yeah, that is a wild one. GG, well played. There's no coming back. Uncle Eero's coming in. Xiao Ming going to be dropping another breath attack there. Roasting these little Nurglings. We got some popcorn being cooked. Some of them will get back, but that will be army losses. And with that, Hadri's will be advancing on to the grand finals with a 2-1 victory, right? Yeah, 2-1 victory. Yep. Good series. Nice contested series. And that is that. Oh my god. Yeah, the Stream of Corruption was really good. So against Cathay, you need to go double... You go Forsaken spam, and then you need to go double Cultist to ride in and drop summons on top of the crossbows before your troops get there. And then the Rotflies, you need Furies too. Furies are so good at tar pitting, because if there had been like 4 or 5 Furies here, like, Longbows can't deal with all of that. The cannon would have been knocked offline, the crossbows would have been knocked offline. I know a lot of people want to just say Nurgle's terrible and they have no chance here, but that's not true at all. Nurgle is the weakest faction in my opinion, but I still think that Nurgle can win this matchup with the proper build. Yeah. Solid old Cathay battle lines. So with that, Hadri's is going to be advancing on to the grand finals. Well played to Loopy. Came very far and had a very solid victory in the first game against Hadri's. Now we can go to the bracket. The power of technology. Hadri's will be moving on to the grand finals. And now we have Xiphos versus Big JP. All right, so let's get the next batch of players in here. This is going to be quite a bit of fun. Xiphos and Big JP. And this is our next best of 3. We will see what they decide to do. As I try and find the next map, it is going to be the Turtle Fields, which is a really cool Cathay map. Very, very cool Cathay map. I love how good Cathay is in land battles. Like, I like that they're actually good. It feels like the Empire, you know? Yeah. They're really cool. Nurgle can definitely beat Cathay, but you need Furies. Furies, like, take forever for Cathay to kill, especially the Nurgle ones with poison. They could just sit on crossbows all day. Yeah. Anticity was in this tournament, but he had to drop out. He had some real life stuff come up, so he had to jam. But I'm sure the Kraken King will be back in his true form soon. Xiphos versus Big JP. So we have a bit of a clan duel here as well. It's going to be ODM facing off against RTK. I would imagine both these players are sitting in their respective discords, scheming with their clanmates, which is always fun. And yeah, we got the map set. Players will do their picks and bans, and let's get this going. Alrighty, heading back over. Big JP's name is a little bit too big. Need to fit that to the nameplate. Very good. And now we're on the second best of 3 of the day. Once again, want to thank you all for joining. It's been fun so far, but we are just getting started. It is my fate to fight ODM in these always, says Hadri's. Yeah, ODM's coming for you. No, I always have to have haggard looking brackets. It's a signature on the channel. We can't have things look nice. How do you think the new races will fare? Okay, I'm of the opinion that not across the board, but I do think that the new races will actually be better than, or the old races will be better than the new ones because they just are more fleshed out. They have regiments of renown. They have more lore choices. They can do more. That's not to say, like, I think Ogres and Tzeentch will still be able to compete and will probably be stronger than some of the old world factions, but I do think that, like, on average, the old world factions will be stronger until DLCs come in and flesh out the new ones. Yeah, the Elemental Bear is really good against Nurgle. I mean, your build worked great, Hadries, but, like, Cathay can also go Monster Mash there, too. They can go double Terracotta, and, like, literally Nurgle can do nothing. Yeah. Absolutely. Haggard is the brand, exactly. Yeah, I can never have things look nice. Slaanesh seems like they're kind of weak, but I'm curious. Okay, wow. Okay, right as I say that, we get a Slaanesh pick from Zyphos. I think. Let's go look here. All right, perfect. We got Slaanesh being picked. I think he's sitting on Slaanesh, which I'm really curious about. Now, I have to say, some of the UI that we have on multiplayer lobbies is so much better now. Like, the fact that I can search for maps is such a nice quality of life change. I love that. Oh, it's so much nicer. Kislev versus Slaanesh again. Now, we saw Kislev absolutely handle Slaanesh earlier. I'm really curious what Zyphos, who is... I mean, all the players we have in the top 4 are just, like, top-tier players. But I'm really curious what we're going to be seeing from Zyphos, who has been an ECL winner. Zyphos was able to defeat, like, the best of the best in the ECL. And it was a long time ago. It was in Season 2 of the ECL. By the way, sometime in the next week or two, we're going to be starting the Total War Warhammer Pro League as well. So we're going to be getting bigger sponsors for the tournaments, and it's going to be super fun. So these 2 tournaments that I've had this week are, like, practice events. But now we're going to be getting, like, a community-based leaderboard on my website, and we're going to be getting real ham. I'm super hyped for this. Super hyped. Slaanesh will be good when they fix... Yeah, some units are a little bit funky on Slaanesh, like the Chariots. I think the Slaanesh Chariots need to be, like, changed a little bit. They don't seem to function properly. Yeah, and Kislev's passive could be nerfed to 15 seconds, I think, maybe. Yeah, it definitely is a long time. 30 seconds is a long time. The website isn't up right now. No, it's not. And if we have any mods in chat that could drop a link to the Discord, that'd be greatly appreciated. We got some folks in there looking to party. I don't know. We're going to see. I mean, look, these players are both very strong. And if Zyphos can win this matchup with Slaanesh against Kislev, maybe we're going to learn something new. You have to remember, it's like, how many land battle tournaments have there been? How many? Like a couple, maybe? Like, I don't know. Is this the first one? Is this the first land battle tournament? It might be. Like, so I think we need to, like, give it a chance, like a couple rounds to see. Like, people haven't really used every single unit composition yet. Like, obviously, we do have a relative scope of the meta, but I do think there's a lot more to be discovered. So the website is under maintenance right now. So it's not really up right now. It will be in the next couple days. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm meeting with the developer, and we're going to try relaunching it and, like, redoing everything. Thank you, Dov. Really appreciate the help. Yeah, Nurgle is the weakest faction in my opinion. Although Nurgle is like a niche counter pick. Like, Nurgle is a hard counter against Slaanesh, who doesn't really need to be hard countered, and then also really good against Khorne. Like, if somebody picks Khorne in a tournament, I would pick Nurgle. Like, if Kislev wasn't free, I would pick Nurgle, like, any day of the week. Any day of the week. Yeah, the Chariots just seem a little bit funky. I don't know, they seem a little bit funny to me. So Zyphos is going to be on Slaanesh against Big JP here on Kislev. Yeah. Yeah, and the spawn are also bugged for Slaanesh as well. They don't have the Soporific Musk, which is, like, what's supposed to make them good. Odd question, but would you accept a corporate sponsor for a Pro League tournament? I mean, depends on the circumstances and what they wanted. Yeah, like if it's very common in, like, Age of Empires to have, like, Microsoft or, like, Red Bull putting it forward a huge prize. So yeah, I would happily accept that. Like, depending on the circumstances in the company, it wouldn't just be any company, but. Can we get a bot? Yeah, Nakamura. I'll do that before the next stream. I'm a little bit terrible with technology. It's like been my biggest downfall, but I will have a bot in place that will have commands. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. That's a good idea, Nakamura. I kind of know how to do it now too. So I can't set it up right now, but I will before the next stream. Slaanesh versus Kislev though, huh? Yeah. Yeah, Nurgle is okay. So thinking of old world matchups, Nurgle, who will Nurgle be good against in the old world? You know, I feel like Nurgle will actually be decent against Skaven. Because, like, with the Furies swarming them, like, that could be pretty problematic. And then, like, Nurglings will trade super well into Clan Rats and stuff. And Forsaken are quite good here. And also, yeah, I think Nurgle will be okay against Skaven. I think Nurgle against Vampire Counts will be actually Nurgle favored. I feel like the Nurgle Mortis engine plus their SEMs are better fighters. Like, the Great Unclean One will bully the Vampire Count characters. Let's see, who else? Nurgle against Tomb Kings, no. The shooting's too good. Nurgle against Coast, no. Coast is going to blow them to smithereens. Yeah, there's a couple decent matches for Nurgle, I would say. But again, by the time like we get that, there's probably going to be updates for Nurgle, and there could even be DLC. Who knows? It's too early to say how they're going to really fight. Yeah. Yeah, I think Nurgle will be good versus Vampire Counts. You think old factions will get DLCs too? I don't think so for a while. Like, I think maybe someone like the Empire could, like a really popular old world faction that hasn't gotten too much. Yeah, I think they will be. Like, I think eventually the old world will get some DLCs. Like, dwarves definitely need one. Like, I can imagine there being a dwarf DLC to have them, like, be the big enemy of the Chaos Dwarves at some point, right? But Nurgle versus Norska, okay. Nurgle maybe is good against Norska. With a Mortis engine, like, tanky units. But Norska does have javelins to kill the big monsters, so that is a little bit tricky. Throg also, yeah, I don't know. Throg would definitely lose to a Great Unclean One. Yeah, it's going to be really... I'm super excited to see these matchups. Nakamura saying, I can't remember the last time I lost to Slaanesh, but I'm a Tzeentch abuser. Yeah, well, Tzeentch is like hard counter Slaanesh. Like, Slaanesh can't even have a Lord in the game when Tzeentch is there. They just like kill it before the fighting starts. It's horrible. Yeah, like Toddbringer, we could see like some sort of a Nagash, like Vampire Count DLC. Like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree, Dov. I think that Vampire Coast will be pretty bad in Domination until Creative Assembly adds in some bigger maps. If they add open field maps, I think they'll be fine. The Dwarven Death Roller? Oh, yeah, dude. Sign me up for that. Okay, so, yeah, we had one of those weird desync errors. It seems to still happen even after the stability patch, but... okay, hold on. Yep. I took a screenshot of the builds, so I'll just tell them the exact same builds. Okay, no problem. That does happen, but it only happens once per series. It's really strange. All right, cool. So players will get back in, and we'll be fine. Yeah, it's a weird thing. That desync has been happening since the launch of the game. It happens at least once in all of my tournaments. I don't know if Falcon's going to be playing. I'll ask him and see if he wants to. Do you think there'll be a nerf to Big Bird soon? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Nakamura in turn. I haven't played Spellforce. Like, my hands have been kind of full with... Total War Warhammer is mainly what I focus on, but I do play Age of Empires on my own, and also I play Warcraft 3 on my own. Those have been the ones I've really been kind of focusing on. Okay, so let's flip these scoreboards here. Hold up. Great. Zyphos is on his way back. Cool. He is on his way. Yeah, Cathay's cavalry aren't great, but they can still roadblock. Like, Cathay's cavalry isn't as good in Domination because they need to, like, in Domination it's more about, like, knocking things off points and stuff, but, like, in land battles, like, Cathay's cavalry work more or less like Empire Knights. Like, just high armor, and they just, like, roadblock for you if you need. But yeah, in Domination they're pretty terrible in my experience. That's right, what was the map? The map was going to be the Turtle Valley. So let's do this. The Turtle Fields. All right. Cool. Yeah, I'm interested in, like, in Age of Empires 4, I definitely like playing it on my own, but yeah, the community's definitely been slowing down quite a bit in Age of Empires. Yeah, there's a couple events going on, but in terms of, like, people being interested in watching it, it's certainly been waning quite a bit. One of the most legit questions of all time, does pineapple belong to pizza? So, you know, when I was in high school, I actually did enjoy pineapple on pizza, but then I ordered a Domino's pizza when I was like 19. and it came with pineapple on it. It was like a Hawaiian pizza, right? And I got the worst food poisoning I've ever had in my life. And ever since then, I've been like hardcore against it. It's just like something, there was a psychological kind of reaction there. Correct. Yeah, the difference between Cathay and Empire is like, yeah, Cathay, like, Empire does like the mobile shooting better and is a little bit more dynamic as a roster, but Cathay obviously has monsters. You have like terracottas, you have dragons, and I would imagine there's going to be more stuff like that in the future. But aside from that, they're pretty similar factions. Like Empire and Cathay could play in a very similar manner. Like that build you saw Hadri's bring earlier, which was just like crossbows, and you could do the same thing in that same matchup and it would work great with Empire. You just have like some sort of a front line of spears or flagellant Sigmar Suns backed up by like huntsmen and stuff, and boom, you're like all set. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be Big JP representing RTK. I actually like this map. This map has a really nice color scheme. It really reminds me of like Three Kingdoms. But it's going to be the forces of... Oh, not Cathay. Why did I think Cathay? It's because of the map. But it's going to be Kislev here. So Kossars in the front, backed up by Kossars with spears. More or less identical to what we saw. This is the most curious choice, though. Seeing the armored Kossars with great weapons in the back, like, why would you want the great weapon? Okay, I think I know why. I think Big JP just wants to actually get more shooting out of his Kossars and have a little bit more armor. So, yeah, pretty cool. In the back, it's going to be a bunch of winged lancers backed up by a Patriarch. We have a Frost Maiden of Ice and Kostalton. He's actually going to be on foot. So, yeah, going for characters that are a little bit harder to snipe. Maybe they're going to get knocked over, but we do have the trio of Kislev. Yeah, tons of shooting, cheap cavalry, not bringing any, big expensive ones like Griffin Legion or Bear Cavalry because, again, Slaanesh could trade pretty upward there, but that is that. Now, what is Xiphos doing differently than the Slaanesh play we saw earlier? Looks like it's going to be a Herald of Slaanesh with the ability to summon Furies. So previously we did see Inkari. He was quite good, but Inkari is a really big target as well. So having a smaller target and a wider army could pay off. And we do see a similar front line. So we saw Lupi actually use Marauders in the front, who obviously held, but they didn't do too much damage. So again, it's going to be a heavy reliance on the cavalry. But it would appear Xiphos is going with double Fiend of Slaanesh, as well as Hellstriders and Seekers and all sorts of stuff like that with some Furies up in the sky. So the build is more or less similar in terms of functionality to what we saw from Lupi, but a wider army with a smaller Lord and 2 Fiends instead of just 1. So yeah, Footstaltine. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, indeed. I'm excited. Double Fiends. I want to see the maximum potential Fiends. Certainly some nice flanking opportunities. Slaanesh could definitely go up on this hill and then like crash behind the Kislev lines and really, really push in there and get some nasty, nasty work. I like the Herald as well. It still has crazy good armor piercing, and being able to summon Furies to attack Kossars. Kossars with spears trade horribly into Furies, like really, really bad, because their spears are obviously anti-large, and without their anti-large bonus, they only have 20 melee attack, so they can't even kill Furies. Like, Furies will cut them to pieces, so I do like the ability to summon a couple Furies and do the business. And it looks like it's going to be the Lash of Slaanesh backed up by the Acquiescence. Yep, quite hyped. Let us know. Do you think that Xiphos and ODM are going to claim victory, or is it going to be the dreaded Big JP? Big JP having a really good run today. Definitely a very impressive performance in the tournament so far. But now facing one of the great champions of the days of old. Should be quite a bit of fun. So here we are. Forces of Kislev bracing for the charge of the Dark Prince, as Slaanesh is going to be getting their Fiends and all their mobility up. Nothing being left behind here. As the Fiends of Slaanesh, I wonder if they're going to do a frontal charge. They're obviously a little bit more durable against missiles because they do have some armor basically and more HP, but even still, like, I kind of feel like Slaanesh builds, what they should be doing in this matchup is getting a bunch of Exalted Demonettes and like moving around the flanks and not even charging into the front, because Kislev isn't like fast enough to really react to flank maneuvers. Like, well, I mean, they kind of are with their cavalry, but the infantry would get forced into an awkward position. Nice whip right there. The whip of Slaanesh going down, which is going to be giving a good old spanking here to these armored Kossars. Does a little bit of HP damage. Not bad. How much did that do? 7,300. They're down to 6.5. So that's actually not bad. That's like 800 damage right there for a cheap little spell. And the Marauder is going to be taking a head-on charge. Obviously, they will be losing the armored Kossars in combat. The Kossars just have better stats, like across the board, in their armor and ability to shoot. They just bring a lot to the table for sure. Now, Xiphos looks like he's going to be flanking, and the Fiends are going to be going right up the middle, actually. Yeah, so look at this. The Fiends actually just bull charging here. They're going to be getting shot by a lot of firepower, and I often feel like you need to like hold them back until the rest of your stuff can hit at the same time, but Xiphos really getting a super aggressive flank. Here comes another Whip of Slaanesh. Nice damage right there as the Marauder is going to be charging into those armored Kossars. And we do get the Seekers of Slaanesh on the flank engaging Winged Lancers, and the first of the Furies will be coming out from the Herald of Slaanesh. while Kostalton and his Patriarch and Ice Witch squad are going to be moving over to fight these Fiends who are getting very, very badly beaten down. I don't know what it is with Slaanesh today. The tactical reserve, Xiphos appears to have forgotten some Furies, which honestly is like super rough. And a huge Slaaneshi engagement here, but like a little bit of a missed micro too. Like he does get a partial surround, I guess. No, okay, so that was pretty good. He did get them in the back. I was going to say, like, you don't need to have 3 blobbed here. If Kislev had some big, like, magic spell, this could actually be really bad. Now, the Furies are still left in the back. The dreaded tactical reserves of Xiphos. Not as bad as, like, Fiends being left in the back, but even still, it's a little bit tricky. Now, look at this. A Soporific Musk here from the Fiends in the front line, really debuffing the combat prowess here of the Kossars, allowing the Marauders and Fiend combos to actually break through the front line. In terms of value, Xiphos is actually winning this matchup in... a pretty, no, I wouldn't say decisive faction. It's only about 700 value, but his cavalry corps does break the winged lancers there, and now they're going to be peeling around the back, causing a lot of problems. It seems that the wider army here is a little bit more effective than what we saw of a more narrow Slaanesh army earlier, but the Fiend's really doing an excellent job. Wow. Chewing through those armored Kossars in the front line. Like butter. I mean, Marauders of Slaanesh aren't terrible there either. They do have a bonus for infantry, which is quite nice. And Slaanesh, in the meantime, really getting huge isolations in the backfield. The winged lancers are getting chewed on. Xiphos' cavalry really, really tearing them up. And the only thing that's really keeping the Kislevite back line intact here against the Slaaneshi swarm is actually the army passive. Without that, many of these units and cavalry would have just broken super quick to the Slaanesh onslaught. So in terms of value, it looks like Slaanesh is coming in, and the dreaded tactical reserves here in the fourth quarter are now moving in, and there's only one missile unit here for, not Zinj, but for Kislev that is still holding. Like, all their other missiles are basically compromised. If we're looking across the whole board here, you can see that the Kislev army, like, everything is wavering, or their passives are going off. It just seems like a really, really tough initial engagement there. And those Fiends are doing great work. I am super impressed at their bunker busting ability, but I have to say the flank engagements were an absolute disaster here for Kislev, as the Seekers of Slaanesh and the Hellstriders are just pushing through, and the Kislevite infantry and cavalry, like everything is just melting. There's tons of armor piercing here. The Furies pack a huge punch as well against the Kislevite armor, and I think it's only a matter of time before the forces of Kislev buckle under the pressure, as they have a couple units holding here and there, but the engagements aren't great. There's not really any engagements here that I'm like, hey, this is going good for Kislev. Like, everything more or less appears to be a disaster, which is certainly cool to see. Like, I noticed a lot of people in chat earlier saying that, oh, you know, Slaanesh has absolutely no chance against Kislev. Well, you know, still very early on, and clearly they do, as we see a very decisive victory here. That was a quick beating with like a 3,000 or 4,000 gold lead there for Slaanesh against, you know, pretty solid Kislev build. A couple micro mistakes, though, for sure. The cavalry in the back of Big JP didn't get their charges off. They kind of were a little bit stationary, and they got hammered by the mobility. But aside from that, maybe the target priority was a little bit off on some of the missiles, but yeah, GG. Here comes another whip of Slaanesh, whipping the followers as well. And Kislev is basically just holding on because of the army passive, which is funny because it actually sustains even through army losses. Ice Witch there, surrounded and unbreakable. Patriarch is breaking, and the only thing that isn't broken is going to be Kostalton. But the wider Slaanesh build actually did quite good. Yeah, I think the Bear Sleds would have been nice here for sure. I mean, they're just a really powerful, potentially overtuned unit, but you don't need Bear Sleds. Like, you don't need them. We saw one Bear Sled in the build earlier. Like, Kislev has plenty of ways to fight that matchup without the Bear Sleds. Yeah, Xiphos clearly has been practicing his Slaanesh, and it shows with the victory in Game 1 going to our French champion. Big JP put up a great fight, but in the end, Xiphos does claim first blood in this best of 3. Really nicely executed, yeah. Really, really nice. That huge flank overload was very strong too. I think being able to summon Furies as well is like huge, like just to shut down extra missile pieces. Yeah, pretty wild. The great weapons, I think you could cut these and just get like dervishes and maybe like a couple more Kossars or something. Yeah. Like, I'd probably cut these. I'd cut like 2 winged lancers, replace them with dervishes, and I did like the Ice Guard a lot too. The Ice Guard felt pretty good last game. But yeah, aside from that, not bad. Not bad. GG, well played. So, Game 1 going to Xiphos. And let us see if Big JP can strike back as we set up the next map. Let's go ahead and pull that up here. The next map for the day is going to be the Blood Fen. It is a Vampire Count Forest. Mr. Berg, hey, have you played any Hearts of Iron? I have not. Thank you so much for the donation, but I have not actually played Hearts of Iron. No, I haven't. I have a lot of friends who play it, and also I know some of the YouTube folks who do it. And now we're going to be seeing what the next picks are. It looks like there's a Khorne selection, maybe from Big JP. We'll see what the picks and bans. I think they're doing it in chat with one another, so I can't see it, which is totally fine. But looks like Khorne's going to be on the menu. The map is set, and we are in Game 2. The winner of this series will be going on to the Grand Finals, and for anybody just joining now, we can take a look at the brackets of the day, and here is the top 4. Hadri's with a 2-1 victory, a very good series between Loopy and Hadri's. And now Zyphos and Big JP are dueling it out to see who will be going on to the grand finals. And that should be it. We might have another tournament this weekend. This weekend, though, I might be out and about. Saturday, I'm gone for sure. Sunday, there's like tentatively going to be a tournament, but I'm not 100% sure yet. How do you play as Cathay versus Zeech? So it's funny that you ask that, because we actually had that matchup earlier, and Cathay was able to win in a pretty decisive fashion. So if you rewind back to the beginning of the stream, you can see that matchup, and it will answer your question. All right, so here we go. Each is 1-0. Let's hang tight. Yeah, that game was really good. That was a really, really fun match. So fun seeing good players with Slaanesh. That's the thing. Like, Slaanesh seems weak, but when you get them in the hands of somebody who really practices and knows them, they can just... Like, Kislev got smashed there pretty good. Yeah. So, I mean, hey, you know, any given Sunday. You really... Yeah, the deployment was very fun, Major Mullah. I enjoyed that build quite a bit. Yeah, I like real-time strategy more than I like grand strategy. Like, I like controlling an army and microing units and that sort of thing. It's more my jam. Although... Like, I kind of can see myself down the road. Like, if I'm still doing this in my 40s, I'm 33 right now, but if I'm still doing it that long, I can see myself maybe switching over to grand strategy and commentary more so. Because I think I can compete with, you know, tournament players now. I mean, I myself am a tournament player, and I can compete with anyone, I'd say, at least in Total War. But like 7 or 8 years from now, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be the case. So I guess I could just go into more commentary. Yeah. Yeah, I do personally agree that land battles are more fun to watch than domination. Like, I can firmly say that. They're more fun for me to watch and cast. But playing domination is also very fun. Like, I enjoy playing domination. But it's not quite as fun to watch on average. Yeah. That's just my 2 cents. Slaanesh is kind of like High Elves when it comes to a skill cap. Yes and no. Because Slaanesh is like such a glass cannon, and High Elves can be really tanky. Like, if High Elves want to go with mouth breathing builds, they can. They can just bring a Lariel and like a box of healing, like dragons and characters and phoenixes, and like do that. But like Slaanesh is always high risk, high reward. There's literally no way to play like mouth breathy, as I like to say. Yeah. We're all getting old, bro. I know, man. God, it's like. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, recently, about 6 months ago, I moved back to my hometown, and like seeing like, I mean, a lot of things stayed the same, which it really tickles my nostalgia pickle, as I like to say. But a lot of things have changed, and there's this local place I go to in my hometown, and in my entire life growing up, I used to go eat there like 2 or 3 times a week. It was like my favorite little joint, and the same guy still runs it, but like he's now like, you know, in his 70s, and back then he was like in his like, you know, late 40s and 50s, and like it's so trippy. It's like, man, time flies. Like it's yeah, not to get like all sentimental with you guys, but it's just like, it's wild. Yeah, it is wild indeed. Yeah, I enjoy watching domination too, for sure. But like, there's something about land battles that certainly captures the magic of like 2 big armies fighting, you know? Like, there could have been a sweet spot maybe with like domination, where it would have been like basically just land battles with objectives and minimal, if not no reinforcements. I don't know. It's hard to say. It would require a lot of like play testing. It definitely would. So we got Khorne versus Ogre Kingdoms. Dude, hyped for this one. Yeah, this is a fun matchup. Khorne dogs and halberds and big demons battling big ogres. Obviously, we have some heavy limits today as well. You can see on the Ogre army over here for the Ogre Kingdoms, you can only have 2 Gorgers, right? So the Ogres have 2 Gorgers and 1 Iron Blaster, both of which are heavily restricted units. So normally, you know, before this tournament, you were allowed to bring 4 Gorgers, which is so filth. Like, because Gorgers just cut through everything. But now they're limited to 2, which makes them very manageable, right? You can actually handle Gorgers if there's only a couple of them. Yeah. Indeed. All right, so here we are. It is going to be Big JP, the champion of the Blood God, coming in with the Herald, tons of Khorne dogs, halberds, and Spawn of Khorne, which I think is very, very good. So the idea with this build is you have halberds, which are, theoretically quite good against ogres, right? You have a bunch of them just marching into the front, but they're not really good at clearing out chaff. So the problem with halberds only is that if you're fighting against noblars, it's going to take them like 10 years to actually get through the noblars. So the solution for that is to stack Chaos Spawn of Khorne on top of your halberds. Now, Chaos Spawn of Khorne are super good. These guys pack a huge punch, 190 weapon strength. They certainly don't take any prisoners for sure. And yeah, going to be sitting on top of those bad boys. Here we do have the Herald of Khorne as well as the Double Cultist, which I like. I think if ogres have any shooting, summoning fast demonic units in the backline is very strong. And the Herald is a small target. He's tough to snipe and certainly still is very, very solid in combat. Granted, he is a bonus for his infantry character, but it's the best you can do. He's just going to be on foot and he's certainly going to be hard to snipe. Furies in the back for Big JP, backed up by a couple Fleshhounds of Khorne, which are just ubiquitously very, very good. The only thing they will struggle against on the Ogre roster is going to be like Iron Guts and Big Armor, but aside from that, they have a huge DPS against Light Armor. Now, for the Chungus Kingdoms, this map is a little bit funky. I might have to reconsider this one, actually. But, again, we're just exploring all the new maps right now, guys, so bear with us. The maps might not all be, like, super balanced out, but, yeah, we're getting to the bottom of it. Don't you worry. So for Ogres, we have some Lead Belchers here. It looks like Xiphos is going to have a double Lead Belcher, each of which is going to be protected by some Ogre Bulls, it looks like, and Iron Guts, yeah. Gorgers, and we also have Saber Tusks all over the place, a Slaughter Master of the Great Maw, and the dreaded Iron Blaster is going to be sitting up in the front, looking to drop some shots downtown. Yes, that is it. Certainly a nice entrenched Ogre position. This is a map that I might have to reconsider. But, I mean, it's okay. For this matchup, it's not a big deal, but yeah, it's a little bit questionable, some of the forests and all that good stuff. So, Man-Eater pistols, Mr. Berg, are very, very strong. Man-Eaters with the great weapons can be situationally quite good. It depends. Yeah, Man-Eaters aren't as bad as I initially thought. They're not as bad as I initially thought. But it is going to be Double Gorger, and the Slaughtermaster is going to have the healing ability as well as a combat buff, and obviously Khorne does not have any magic. The force here might actually help Khorne quite a bit. The fact that they can advance through this tree line without getting shot effectively by like Lead Belchers could be very, very good. The one thing I'm very surprised we're not seeing from Xiphos is Man-Eater pistols. I feel like Man-Eater pistols are really, really strong against Khorne. Like, they can shoot the halberds, they can shoot the spawn. They're very, very destructive for sure. But this is the first showcase of both these factions in today's tournament. Both of them are very strong. I would say Khorne is a solid A-tier faction, and Ogres are, with some of the restrictions we put on Gorgers, Ogres are still S-tier, I would say, but not that. They're really not that far ahead of Khorne. Like, Khorne can definitely fight them very effectively, so. Halberds moving up, taking some shots from the old Iron Blaster, going downtown, pounding into the Chaos Warriors with halberds. Doing some okay work. Nothing terribly devastating. I mean, the only value that's really been lost is 184. The place where Iron Blasters become super overpowered is when they can snipe characters and lords. But the Khorne army actually brought like a couple foot-based characters who are going to be incredibly tough for the Iron Blaster to actually like hit effectively. So I think Khorne is going to more or less be fine. I think the Iron Blaster shooting into the spawn would probably be a little bit more effective. Khorne dogs in the outside looking to kind of envelop and surround the army. And here we do have some Saber Tusk packs as well as some of the old Gorgers kind of chilling over there. And here on the side, the Chaos Warriors moving up. Furies getting in there, but you definitely don't want to send the Furies in until the rest of your army arrives because the Ogres have really good peeling tools. You have the Saber Tusk pack and you have a couple of different things like that. But I do like this play actually quite a bit. Using the Furies to just like block up the Iron Blaster for a second to prevent it shooting, I think is a strong play. And look, they pull back before the old shooting of the Ogres is going to be able to really get in there and do any substantial damage. I need to get my cinematic smoothing down a little bit. So Ogres pulling back. There you go. That's good. They're maneuvering and getting ready to defend their back line here. Iron Blaster shooting into the halberds, and in the front line we do have the Chaos Warriors with halberds moving forward, and the spawn of Khorne as well. So the Ogre front line does have the Ogre Bulls, but they're going to be taking quite a hammering from this Khornate army when the Khornate army actually engages in melee. The Fleshhounds of Khorne will outtrade Saber Tusks pretty heavily, but Gorgers are something that you want to avoid like the plague. Here, a huge shot from that Iron Blaster. That was a super nasty one coming in, and now is the chance for Khorne to try and get through the front line. Spawn obviously trapped up on Noblars, which doesn't feel too good. And I would imagine that we're going to be seeing the summons coming in from the cultists here pretty quickly to try and jump on the old Lead Belchers here in the back. So Chaos Warriors of Khorne moving on up. Should be able to get in, but the Noblars intercepting, doing a great job. Furies haven't really engaged yet. Spawn of Khorne might actually be able to kill that Slaughtermaster. You know, if this Slaughtermaster isn't careful here, I think Khorne could probably kill this character, potentially. Okay, it looks like the Slaughtermaster is going to be getting on his peg leg and will be running away at this point, so. Here comes the first summon of Bloodletters into the back of the Ogre line. Furies jumping on top of the Lead Belchers. Here in the back, we do have Khorne Dogs coming from both sides. And one unit of Khorne Dogs moving in. No, those are Saber Tusks. A little bit tough. Their banners that these two players are using are very, very similar. And Big JP does have a really nice flank coming in here. So look at this. Yeah, nice. The Iron Blaster is shut down by Chaos Furies. And the Corn Dogs are going to be absolutely massacring these Lead Belchers in the back. This is going to be a brutal slaughter, as Lead Belchers are not good against such units and probably will be getting broken here. They're pretty close. 4 leadership still getting chewed on. Negative 13. It looks like those bad boys will be breaking as Gorgers do pull into the backfield. Now in the front, Khorne's still grinding through. Halberds doing their thing, and the Khornate characters actually do somewhat isolate this Ogre character. Yeah, he's in a little bit of danger here. He's actually shaken, being beaten down by the double cultist as well as the Herald. And Spawn of Khorne are surging into the back. Here on the flank, we do get the Fleshhounds of Khorne charging in, but they do get hit with a Dismember, which is going to be slowing them, but I think they're just going to pull back, and if they can withdraw without taking too many losses, I think that's going to be a big win for Khorne. And Khorne gets a huge victory here. Breaking these Lead Belchers is quite strong. While in the front, Khorne seems to be doing okay. It's hard to say, honestly, with like, it's just so many similar banners here. It makes it a little bit tricky to tell who's who. But Furies are on top of the Lead Belchers, so the shooting of Zypos is slowly falling apart, while the Chaos Furies are on top of the Iron Blaster. If one of the Corn Dogs could actually like move over here after the Iron Blaster, that'd be quite strong, but it looks like there's still a pretty solid defense here. Halberds have actually gotten into the back as well. And Halberds are now grinding against Lead Belchers, which are just taking more and more casualties. One Corn Dog unit does get dragged down by the Gorgers and the Saber Tusk kind of goon squad on the flanks. Balance of Power is still a little bit Ogre favored. Obviously, they've gotten some pretty nice shooting here, but here comes the old characters. So we do have the Cultists of Khorne and the Herald of Khorne and all those guys doing their thing. Big shot from the Iron Blaster right down the pipe with those Halberds, paying huge dividends, while the Gorgers continue to just nibble on pretty much everything they can find here. Halberds are definitely the big winner, though, entrenched in the middle of the Ogre army, really doing some great work. Halberds in the front doing okay, but the Nobblars are just such a good tar pit unit. Like, they just, like, the Nobblars tar pitting this spawn and Halberd positions were just so cost-effective this game. In terms of value, the Forces of Khorne are down by like 2,000. They'd have to get a pretty big pick here for sure. I mean, breaking the Iron Blaster off would be a huge start, and if somehow Khorne could find a way to snipe the Slaughtermaster, I think that could be a pretty big win as well, but getting to that point is going to be a little bit tricky for sure, as the Balance of Power is really but is really prevalent here for the Ogre Kingdoms. In the back, the Lead Belchers are chased off by the Furies. Looking here in the front, we do have the Halberds and Spawn of Khorne still fighting, but the Iron Guts with their armor really holding quite well. Iron Guts are quite thick, and they have, I think, 90 armor, if I'm not mistaken, so that's going to make them pretty durable at holding back Spawn. Halberds will get through them relatively fast, but I do like the Iron Gut pick there. Now here in the fight, Gorgers still bumping and grinding. Obviously, even though there are Halberds here, Gorgers are super OP, so they're incredibly tough to bring down. And what better way to maximize the effectiveness of an OP unit than to heal it? So the Gorger's going to be getting a fat heal, and the Halberds actually do get broken off, while the 2 Cultists of Khorne continue fighting, and the Herald doing pretty good as well. Slaughtermaster does get hit with a little bit of fire damage and is going to be juking away. And it looks like some Lead Belchers on the corner of the map have come back, but I think the Corn Dogs will get over there and probably chase them down. Looking at Khorne's army, they have some Halberds rallying back, as well as some Spawn of Khorne here. And I just think the Ogre Kingdoms were able to defend most of their assets long enough. But, you know, Khorne did a pretty good job. But the Nobblars, I think, were kind of the unsung heroes here of this game. It seems that the Nobblars really held on like champs. Herald of Khorne going to be breaking down due to army losses here, and the Gorgers will be running away, as the Demons of Khorne are going to be breaking against the walls of Ogre Kingdom. So GG, well played. Certainly a contested match. And there goes the big clubbing from the Ogre Bulls. And a nice shot from the Iron Blaster once again. Iron Blaster, I would imagine, probably got close to 2,000 value, if not more. So strong for sure. So strong. Yes. That's his itch. Carrot Shell, appreciate that. Thank you. That was some kind words. A little bit of lag is the last spawn fight here on the battlefield. A Pyrrhic victory for the Ogres indeed. I feel like in land battles, it's like always a Pyrrhic victory. Yeah. Iron Guts are great. Yeah, Iron Guts are a balanced unit. They like do their job well, but they don't like just massacre everything they fight. Like if they're fighting a Halberd unit, they're going to lose. Unlike Gorgers, who just like defeat Halberd units like it's nobody's business. So taking a look at the army, I thought it was good. I honestly liked the Khorne army. I thought it had a very solid chance of winning. What did the Iron Blaster do? 1,500, so it paid for itself with a little bit. Gorgers didn't get a ton of damage, but it's not really accurate of their representation because they were actually both, you know, more or less like full health at the end of the battle. It's definitely tough. Ogres are just so strong. Yeah, they're really strong. And Corn Dogs can be like screened by Saber Tusks pretty well too. In a vacuum, the Corn Dogs will win, but what Zyphos did is he used his Gorgers with the Saber Tusks. And these Gorgers weren't really like super jacked because basically they weren't getting healed by Scrag either. Yeah. All right. So let us go ahead and get this party started. I'm going to get some water real quick. Actually, I have some right here. Wow, look at that. GG, well played. All right, so we can get the lobby set up. And let's do it to it. All right, finding the goodies. And that is going to be 2-0. Well played to Big JP. Big JP had such a good run today. If we take a look at the run of Big JP had some serious wins, defeating several tournament veterans and getting all the way here to the grand final. So definitely a big shout out there. Turin could commentate on 2 men painting a house. I feel like depending on what the folks, like if there's any comedic elements about the guys painting the house, maybe. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so indeed. All right, so let's get this, copy that. All right. Just coordinating the next games here, and we will be all set, and we'll get the map set. This is best of 5. This is going to be best of 5. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I really like the Corn Ogre matchup. I feel like it's very fun. So let's go look at the bracket, move it up, make it official. Zyphos moves up to face Hadries. This looks very much like the finals of a Warhammer 2 tournament. Seeing these 2 individuals in here. And this is best of 5. So there's going to be a little bit more gameplay for you. Best of 5s can take anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half. So make sure you got your snacks, your popcorn, all that goodness, and get ready to go. It's going to be Hadries here. And let's jump in. Cool. Get the map set. So going to the old map pool. That map wasn't that bad, honestly. It wasn't that bad. I thought that one was fine, more or less. So we're going to open with the flats of Kislev. It's a really nice kind of neutral opening map here, and the players can do their picks and bans. Cool. Good luck, have fun. So Hadries. Map set. All right. Yeah, these guys have met before in tournaments. Yeah. All right. Very cool. Disco Singh says, "Hey Turin, thanks to you and your AoE streams, you got me so hard into Warhammer now." Hey, glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. I'd love to see you in Indie Pride commentate a tournament sometime. I don't think he does commentary of live tournaments. I'd have to ask him. Like, has he ever hosted a live tournament and done like live commentary? I know he's done like streams of campaigns and things like that, but yeah, I mean, if he really wanted to, sure, I would be down. I would definitely be down. Yeah, we got a land battle tournament. It's the first one, I guess. Yeah, and I'm having a blast today. It's definitely fun. And like I said, we're going to be having 1 land battle tournament and 1 domination tournament per week. So regardless of what your flavor is and what you're into, we're going to have it here on the channel. Corn dogs are really good. Dude, I love corn dogs. Like the actual food in real life. Oh, it's so good. It's kind of an American thing too. So we are on the flats of Kislev. And what are they going to pick? Okay. Zyphos goes with Slaanesh as a first pick and bans Nurgle. Ooh. So now we get to see this round 2. Oh, Hadries goes Tzeentch. Oh, no. Okay, Zyphos showed us that Slaanesh can really do well against Kislev. But I have never seen a Slaanesh player beat Tzeentch. I just haven't. So this would be a first. Yeah. Is there a chance to change the font on the scorecard? Do you want the color to be changed? Like so like the text is black, or what are you looking for? Just let me know and I can do that. If you guys like, maybe the text like with some sort of a solid color would look a little bit easier to read. Yeah, whatever you guys prefer. We're gonna have it here on the channel. And on all my quick battle streams, I open with domination games and then I close out with land battle. So we're getting all the goodies. Will these tournaments have a regular schedule? Yes, they will at some point. They will for sure. Mixing land battles and domination. Yeah, because like domination is really good for players who are getting into the game too, because they don't have to like read an encyclopedia of rules and understand all that. Like I think many veterans might prefer like land battles because it's kind of what they're used to, and it's the same formula as Warhammer 2. But a lot of newer players I found prefer domination. So I think both of them have a great place. But I think if domination could be slightly improved, I think that like everyone would definitely be able to kind of enjoy that more. Yeah. Look, if somebody picked Slaanesh against me, I would pick Tzeentch too. It's just like too juicy of a matchup for you. I'm really, really curious what Zyphos is going to do here. Like super curious. Because Zyphos clearly is a top tier player. And if somebody can figure this out, somebody like him can. And clearly he's an ODM. So he's got like a great pool of people to practice with. So there's gotta be some weird ODM schemes here. It's just a bit hard to read. Okay. So let me play with that real quick. We got a little bit of time, so okay, so that is here. Where can I change it? Like, what would be a good color? Like, let's see what this looks like if I change that. Oh, that looks a little bit better, actually. Hold on. Hold up. Old man Turin learning technology. Look at this. I'm changing the color of things. This is 2022. Ah. Power overwhelming. Is that okay? I feel like that's a little easier to read. But when I get off stream and I have more time, I will actually like find a solid color. 100%. Okay. Yeah, baby, let's go. Yeah, look at that. Still got it. Been doing this for 4 or 5 years. We have the power of technology. Yeah, we got it. Have you considered making the text all red? Would red be good? I don't know. I'll experiment with it, but that for now is an improvement. So let's just take it. Much better. That's a lot better. Okay, red outline. Okay, I got to find out how to do that. Red text over a crimson background. We'll get to the bottom of it. But for now, I think this is like a good solution. I think as a team, we've really come a long way, and that'll do. Dude, Zyphos, what are you gonna do in this matchup, dude? How is he gonna beat Tzeentch, especially someone as good as Hadries? Yeah, this is really fun. Maybe the UI is red. So the UI is a graphic in Photoshop. I'd have to actually change that in Photoshop. The text I can change here. Zyphos will use the ultimate E strategy. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, don't worry, guys. Shows up, yeah, I think so. Neon flashing colors. We could do that. I'm sure we could find a way. Okay, it looks like Slaanesh is ready. So we have the Dark Prince facing off against the Changer. Dude, hype. Man, how is he? I've not been able to see Slaanesh win this. What is he gonna do? Okay, I'm thinking. Maybe you bring 5 Marauder with Hell Scourges and like 4 Marauder Spearmen, and then just go like super wide with like cheap, weird, grindy units with like Fiends of Slaanesh and Soul Grinders, like spawn maybe. I don't know, dude. Like, how do you do this? I think the greater demons are like a big liability for sure, but like if you bring the small ones, they just get killed by blue fire. So that's a big problem too. Well, I was gonna sleep, but this is gonna be interesting, says Lord Inquisitor. You don't need sleep. Actually, yeah, you probably have work tomorrow, man. Jeez. We're getting a little bit late. We tried to start earlier. Yeah. We tried. I want to look at the armies now, but obviously if I do that, it opens it up to the actual players if they're on the stream seeing the army, so we can't do that. We gotta wait. I gotta be a patient good boy, just like all of you. And just we'll discover it together. All demonettes in charge. So Pendulum is banned, so infantry become much better. Maybe we see like Exalted Demonettes just to like try and buzzsaw. Like Exalted Demonettes with, I don't know, with Marauders and just like envelop the army. I don't know, yeah, it's hard. Because the Slaanesh Furies also lose to the Tzeentch Furies, because Tzeentch Furies have shields. And like the armor piercing doesn't help in that fight, so... You can't really play the Air Force either against Tzeentch. Tzeentch will dominate you in the skies as Slaanesh. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're loading in. The players are ready. Here it is, the grand finals of our first land battle tournament in Total War Warhammer 3. It is going to be Kairos Fateweaver facing off against the dreaded Herald of Slaanesh. So looking at the Slaaneshi army, okay, so we got Marauders, no Hell Scourges though, just basic Marauders, Furies, anti-large cav, double Fiend. It seems like Fiends are like kind of a meta thing here. Zyphos has been making the Fiends look really, really good here. Now, looking at the army of Tzeentch, it's going to be Forsaken, Pinks, and Blues. That's basically it. Which is kind of the one thing that's a little bit off meta here for Hadries is probably Forsaken. Oftentimes you just see Pinks and Blues spammed like into the Oblivion, but yeah, Forsaken hit pretty hard against light armor, and they can massacre all of the Slaaneshi infantry, with the exception of the Exalted Demonettes. So I do like that. So again, looking at the Slaanesh army here, it is going to be 4 Chaos Furies against how many Furies here? Okay, we only have 2? No, we do have 4 and 4. So we could have a Mortal Fury combat up in the sky. And you know, Slaanesh could use its magic to actually make its Furies win up in the sky. These are going to be Hell Scourges. Hell Scourges are pretty nice. They're just cheap, relatively high DPS cavalry units against light armor, so having them like flanking on blues and pinks is really good. And the Hellstriders are anti-large, so you use these guys against, I guess, some of the bigger targets, like maybe the chicken if he's there. But in general, I'm trying to think, yeah, you're not going to see Screamers. What do you really need the anti-large for? Hard to say. Combination of cavalry, Fiends, of course, are the hard hitters, and the Herald is going to be hiding in the trees, which I love. I think hiding the Herald in the tree back here is a smart play. Like, it brings me, like, nightmare flashbacks to Warhammer 1 when players used to hide their lords in trees to make sure they didn't actually get hit by Spirit Leech spam to just kill your lord before the battle. So looking at Tzeentch, solid army. It's going to be Forsaken, but backed by blues, backed by pinks, and Furies in the back. So if Slaanesh's cavalry try and flank, you just use the Furies to attack them. And Kairos can Gaze of Fate. Yep. Kairos literally comes in at the cost of like 1900 gold. He's a pretty good combatant. He gets a ton of Winds of Magic, and he has Gaze of Fate and Blue Fire. Just going to be trying to snipe the Lord here for Slaanesh. The one mistake, I would have liked to have seen a Pink Fire in this army. I feel like it's very good against the Slaanesh light armor, but even still, just spamming blue the whole game to kill the Herald is like pretty darn cost-effective for sure. So yes, Hellstriders, the basic ones are anti-large, which unfortunately for them, there's no large in this army really except Kairos, who's not going to land in a dangerous situation. And then the Hellstriders of Slaanesh do have the Hell Scourges. I think are more of a generalist unit. Pretty good against most of these units. Dude, I have no idea how Slaanesh is going to do this. I have no idea. I've not seen it done. If Xiphos manages to achieve this lofty goal, he will be a legend, forever emblazoned in the halls of glory. Well, the Dark Prince will certainly at least have him kind of worshipped in his realm. So here comes the armies, the Hellstriders and the Marauders, all waiting quite patiently for the players to ready up. Herald of Slaanesh, let's go ahead and evaluate what abilities we saw here. I believe we saw 2. So it's going to be the Fury Summon, the Whip. The Whip is good against Forsaken, and honestly not terrible against like chaff units. The really nice thing is it triggers the Blissful Rapture. This is a super good casting passive. So basically every time a Slaanesh caster casts a spell, the entire army gets 12 melee attack. It's pretty freaking good. So just spamming your cheap spells with Slaanesh while you're like alpha striking someone is mega cost effective, because even if the spell might not seem that good, it's like still giving your whole army 12 melee attack, which is super sweet. I believe in a thing called love. Just listen to the rhythm of my heart. A little bit of lag here in the beginning. It will happen. Obviously, Hadrius and I are connecting from the United States. Xiphos is in France, but doesn't seem too bad. There might be a little bit, but it will come and go over the course here of the Grand Finals. So flying in is Kairos, the Chicken Weaver. Going to be looking for that Herald. That is exactly what's going down. The Herald is hiding in the trees, which I love, but now it's going to be emerging, and you're going to see in just a second why the Herald of Slaanesh does not enjoy facing Tzeentch, because Kairos is just going to spam Blue Fire all day. And I'd be surprised if this Herald lives past like the 3-minute mark. So the first shot coming in, Herald's going to go from 3,900. Whoa! Wait, what happened there? Was the Blue Fire used on the Fiends? That is super lucky for Xiphos. I mean, the Fiends do take some big damage and lose a model, but yeah, if Hadrius is going to go after the Fiends, that's a huge win. Because then Slaanesh actually gets to use its Lord and have its passive. The biggest issue in this matchup has actually been, you know, the Herald just going down, basically. So we do have a Fury Mortal Kombat here. We have 2 Slaanesh Furies chasing down the... Oh, we have the Fury duel up in the sky. Obviously, the cool thing now in Warhammer 3 is you can land flying units, right? So the Furies could land on the ground if they wanted to. And then they could get support. So even if you're like outmatched up in the sky, it doesn't mean you like automatically lose now. But yeah, it looks like the Furies are just in Mortal Kombat. Kairos going to go over there. This might actually be a mistake. If Kairos goes like too far over here and then Slaanesh like hits the main army, that could be pretty big. In the back, we actually have a pretty favorable fight. You can see how hard the Chaos Furies of Tzeentch dominate the ones of Slaanesh. The reason being is that the shields absorb most of the initial damage that Slaanesh can pour out. But nonetheless, value is relatively even in terms of the early trades. We do get the 2 Chaos Furies battling here, and looks like the Slaanesh Furies are going to be losing out, especially since Big Chicken Kairos was on his way over, but I think he knows that the Protoss shields are OP enough to probably win the day. But it's a pretty negligible amount of value, because this is where things are going to get really spicy. So Lash of Slaanesh going down. Nice, kind of breaks through the shields, but more importantly, it triggers the melee attack on these units. Gaze of Fate going down to the Hell Scourges, going to be locking those bad boys in place from the Big Chicken, while the Slaaneshi forces in the back, the Seekers of Slaanesh, do lurk back here. Ooh, look at the blue. Really interesting to see the Blue Fire being used on like cavalry and not sniping the Lord. I feel like the Lord sniping is really the way to go, but maybe it's just like such a good matchup for Tzeentch that they just don't care. Some Marauders are going to be hitting in the front line, but they're going to get wrecked really bad by Forsaken. Forsaken hit super hard and are armored, so the basic Marauders are going to struggle there. But on the flank, we get the Cavalry coming in. Hellstriders hitting into the Blues, but the Blues are actually deceivingly tanky. It's not that their stats are good, it's just the shields are like 1,000 free HP that just comes back, so it takes a minute to get through those. Zypho's pulling back with the Hellstriders here, and the old Fiends of Slaanesh are circling around the back of the army, while the Marauders do engage against the Forsaken to the front, but the Forsaken will be able to definitely butter up these Marauders in droves. But what we saw earlier was the Fiends of Slaanesh doing really good, and if the Fiends can apply this a perfect musk, lower the stats of the Forsaken, like they might be able to just buzzsaw through them. And look at that, Cascading Fire Cloak going down actually here. It looks like there's a cultist of Tzeentch somewhere. I didn't see it in the initial army, but that is going to be giving lore of fire to this particular force. In the back, the old Hellstriders of Slaanesh being swarmed by the Chaos Furies as well as the Blues. Should be losing that fight, and honestly, the value trading is pretty darn even here. Big Burning Head coming in from the Cultists, going to be going down the Marauders, but it looks like it was only a little bit of a tickling of the flank there. And the big reason why I think Slaanesh is still in this game is the fact that Kairos is not sniping the Lord. Like, with those blue fires, this Herald would be almost dead right now. It'd probably be at like 30%. But the Fiend's doing just the work of the Dark Prince, like really just buzzsawing through and breaking through those Forsaken super quickly. So that's pretty impressive for sure. Tzeentch is holding on in value, but man, Zyphos and his Slaanesh, he must have really been practicing these guys because his build seemed to be working pretty well here with the Dark Prince. Now in the backfield, we do get some Hell Scourges and all sorts of Slaaneshi cavalry, as well as some Fury summons. So obviously the Herald is able to summon Furies, and Kairos is kind of having a problem making his value back, as he is being attacked by these Hellstriders with their anti-large, and the Chicken could be in a little bit of danger, as it is getting a little bit trapped up here. Fascination being used on the Blues to actually rampage them and do some damage, but Kairos is slightly trapped, while the Fiends of Slaanesh are proving to be massive, massive MVPs in the front line, chewing through all of these different units. Now the Big Chicken's going to be getting embroiled in combat once again, but guys, Zyphos is really, really closing the gap on this value. It is looking almost razor close. Another whip of Slaanesh going down, which is going to be giving the entire army here of Slaanesh a huge melee attack buff. That's going to make them incredibly effective at cutting through many of these infantry. But the shooting of Tzeentch in the back needs to be shut down back here. We do see the Seekers, the Pink Horrors still getting some firepower, but the Marauders do pour on top of them, which should be able to kind of buzzsaw them down. Without the shooting, the Slaanesh army could be a little bit problematic. Really nice positioning here from these Pinks. Are they a summon? Okay, this is a summon unit of Pinks. When they wear off, suddenly the Tzeentch army isn't going to have much shooting here, and the Slaanesh forces might be able to actually grind through them. Now in the front, Marauders seem to be trading okay. The Blues are in guard mode and being given shooting orders into the back of these Marauders, which are slowly breaking through these Pinks, but it's taking quite some time to do that. Slaaneshi cavalry running for the hills here, as a big bombardment does go down from Hadri's. Nice one there on the Marauders of Slaanesh. Balance of power pretty favored here for Tzeentch, but that's going to be changing in about 18 seconds when this Pink Horror unit does disappear. The Cultists of Tzeentch, of course, still doing his thing, but the Slaanesh army's looking pretty thin. Looking around here, we do see Fiends, we see some Spears. A little bit of a rally, though. Some of the cavalry have come back, and Zyphos, of course, very quick on his micro, is going to be screaming those guys in, but I don't know if he knows this is a summoned unit that will be disappearing, but man, that shooting is doing so much work. Value is now getting a little bit better for Hadri's here, as the forces of the Changer continue to grind through, but do they still have shooting? Yeah, they do have Pinks here, as well as another unit here that really need to be shut down if there's going to be any hope. On top of that, Kairos Fateweaver is pretty strong in combat. Big Burning Head going down, going to be cooking the edge there of those Marauders. Oh, and it does the MLG bounce off the rocks. Did you see that? It actually goes and ends up cooking some of his own units too. Oh man, it totally bounced off those rocks right there. But I think Slaanesh may have had a window to get this, but in the end, it looks like Hadri's just barely able to edge out that battle. But I have to say, that is by far the best attempt I've seen from Slaanesh taking on Tzeentch. And that game was actually quite close for some time, but the summons from the Cultists, I think, really turned the table. And the Furies not trading cost effectively for Slaanesh, I think, was bad. Because basically, Zyphos, in the beginning of that match, went down by, 1,000 plus value because his Furies just got massacred for almost nothing. So I think if Zyphos switched his build, cut all the Furies, and got more of a ground force, I legitimately think Zyphos could have maybe won that game. So it's nice to see that Slaanesh does have hope. The Fiends seem to do okay. One of them got melted for sure. But yeah, cutting the Furies here and getting a more ground-based force, I think is 100% your play. Like more Marauders, maybe some more, Hell Scourge Marauders would have been super good here. But the Furies, I think, cost Zyphos the game there. Aside from it already being a relatively tough matchup. So GG. Game 1 going to Hadri's here in the Grand Finals. And now we are going to go to the wastes of Slaanesh. Too bad Slaanesh isn't picked here, but it is what it is. The Burning Head was so funny. Yeah. That was a good fight. That was a really good attempt by Zyphos. Really good attempt. In a horrible matchup, mind you. Like, first picking Slaanesh is definitely dangerous. I think Slaanesh is like a counter pick, might be a little bit stronger. Yeah, Tzeentch should have sniped the Lord. I think Hadri's could have won a lot quicker if he just blue fired the Lord, because the Lord was huge, like the melee attack buffs and the Fury summons. Yeah, it's definitely tough. It was a winnable game. I just think the Fury blunder was rough. Like, the Furies were just not effective at all. So now we will see what the players pick for their next match. The Changer of Ways cackles in the grand finals. All right. Zypho saying you forgot some of his army. It's okay, man. No worries. Perfect, perfect. So the map is set. The players can now do the picks and bans for the next round. We will see what they do. I would imagine we'll see some Ogre Kingdoms, some Kislev Cathay. Who's going to be a true Chad and pick Nurgle? So Hadri's could have also So Slaanesh did ban Nurgle that game. I was going to say Nurgle could have been a good counter pick too. What does Kairos have over the Exalted Lord of Change with that setup? A snare. That's pretty much it. Yeah. Kairos has a snare, so he has something that can lock things in place, whereas the other Lord of Change is better in combat and actually can summon Furies. As a matter of fact, I think with that build that Hadri's brought, I think that the Exalted Lord of Change would have just been objectively better than Kairos. Snares can be nice against Slaanesh, though, for preventing Alpha Strike, so it's hard to say. But Kairos has a snare, and also Kairos has some other items that can reset cooldowns and things like that. I think Zyphos will go Kislev. Yeah, I think so. We're going to see, though, because Zyphos first picked there. So now it's Hadri's turn to pick one and ban one. Yeah. Hadri's, Kislev, Khorne, Ogre Kingdoms, still tons of strong picks on the table. Cathay is obviously pretty darn good in land battles as well. So, yeah, all kinds of neat stuff. Kugath Nurgle would be a Chad move. It would, but you probably would get wrecked pretty bad. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we don't have as many maps, unfortunately. I see Zyphos and Hadri's talking about the maps not being as good, but we simply don't have as many options. You know, there's a couple good ones, but really, when we get the old maps back, the land battle tournaments will be a little bit better. Were Khazrak and Malagor made useful? Yes, they're both very good. Not Khazrak, excuse me. I thought you said Morgar. No, Khazrak still sucks, but Malagor is very good. Pendulum is banned for this tournament. It's just bugged and broken and super overpowered because of that. Its hitbox is bugged, so it hits wider than it's supposed to, and just one-shots anything it hits. Cathay vs. Kislev would actually be very fun. Yeah, it really would be. Okay, so it's going to be Kislev pick from Hadri's, and he's going to be banning Cathay. Cool. Wow, a Cathay ban. What is Zyphos going to respond with? Zyphos probably would have liked to have played Slaanesh here. What is he going to pick? Khorne? Khorne is an option. Ogre Kingdoms would probably be my pick if I were Zyphos. Ogre Kingdoms against Kislev, I think, is very Ogre favored. I feel like Gorgers and Leadbelchers and Iron Blasters are just so good against Kislev. So I would expect an Ogre Kingdoms pick here on the Waste of Slaanesh. The shock value alone from seeing the filthiest Chungus would be, yeah, Kugath, okay. I'm trying to think where Kugath could actually be okay. Kugath against Kislev, maybe. Like, his bombardments might be alright. But even still, it's just, like, so janky. Like, you could do, against, like, Cathay or Kislev, you could do a Kugath double Soul Grinder build and, like, nuke a ton of their stuff with your ranged. That might actually shock someone in a 1v1. Yeah. From these picks and bans, Kislev and Cathay is definitely... Yeah, they're very strong. But Khorne is really good. I think Khorne is a solid counter against Cathay. Like, Khorne can go just ham. Yeah, they can go absolutely ham. Yeah, loopy, but none of the other ones actually do like, none of the other vortexes. I'm trying to think of other, like, spells that are similar to Pendulum. Like, Burning Head is totally fine. The Tzeentch one is totally fine. What other lures of magic do we have? Like, wind type spells? Yeah, it's hard to say. Kugath versus Bretonnia? Yeah, that might not be bad. He might be able to, like, pick off the Peasant Archers with his bombardment. Like, Kugath plus Soul Grinder against Bretonnia could be pretty good. now that I think of it. Yeah, we'll see. Khorne, I think Khorne is the best counter against Cathay for sure. Khorne does really well. Like, all your infantry just massively outtrade theirs, and you can shut down their ranged very well with your Khorne dogs and your cultists and things like that. Hey, Connor, how's it going? I know. It's been a great tournament today. We've had some really, really good matches. And just like we predicted, it's going to be an Ogre pick. So Xiphos is going to go Ogre Kingdoms against Hadri's Kislev, which I think is a very even matchup. I feel like these two factions line up very well with one another. It used to be Ogre favored pretty hardcore when they could bring 4 Gorgers and Scrag, but now that we have limitations. Because in some of the earlier land battle tests I had, basically we would just bring 4 Gorgers and 2 Iron Blasters, and Kislev would just get dumped on. Yeah, but now that we have limits on those OP units, it's a lot better. It's a lot better for sure. I'm excited. I'm really excited to see the old world factions come back. I just want to play my Dowie and my Empire. Yeah. I would definitely have a dwarf army in tabletop. Like, if Games Workshop like refreshes the dwarf line a little bit, I would consider starting a dwarf army in tabletop. Yeah, that'd be super fun. Just like epic dwarven cannons and iron breakers in the front with some mighty dwarven king leading the charge. So cool. Kislev is obviously going to be awesome in tabletop too. Because I would imagine that'll be one of the factions they launch with. Like, they're going to want to get the promotion from this game, right? So they're probably going to launch with like Cathay and Kislev and then like Khorne and something else would be my guess. Yeah, the Lore of Tempest is where... Yeah, the Lore of Tempest spell is pretty weak for sure. Any successful way to fight single entities is Nurgle. So it's incredibly tough. Like, single entities basically hard counter Nurgle. But the best way to do it is to go double Beast of Nurgle, backed up by like double Cultist and then a Great Unclean One. If you know your opponent's going to bring them. Because Great Unclean Ones can trade super well against most SEMs. Like, a Great Unclean One will beat the brakes off the Terracotta Sentinel and barely break a sweat. And it'll also defeat the Elemental Bear. So you're going to want, if you're expecting SEMs, you want to go with the Exalted Great Unclean One, and then back them up with Beast of Nurgle, and you should have a chance. You should have a chance. I'm so ready to... Yeah, isn't it funny how, like, probably a lot of us in chat, including myself, were kind of burnt out at the end of Warhammer 2, but, like, now that we've been deprived of our beloved factions, we're just like, I want them back. You know, it's like you don't realize how much you miss something till it's gone, right? It's totally just like totally just the manifestation of that kind of principle there. I mean, if they don't want to nerf Gorgers, like in terms of functionality, like I think what a good idea for Gorgers could be is like, look, a lot of campaign players don't like it when multiplayer changes affect their campaigns, which, you know, fair play. What you could do from a creative assembly end is you could just make their cost way more. You could make Gorgers like super expensive. So then, yeah, they're freakishly strong, but they're also freakishly expensive. Like, Gorgers in their current state could cost like 1,700 gold or 1,600 gold and be like, that would probably be fair. Instead of 1,100. Like, if you increase their cost by 500 or 600 gold, I think we could talk. Because then, like, squeezing those in would really put a dent in your army's width. Yeah. Maybe even 1,700 gold, because like they trade so well for what they do. And you also are stock, you're unbreakable, you have like healing from Scrag, like the synergy is just too much. How hard would it be to balance a 3-unit max of the same kind in Domination? In Domination is very different. Like, you don't need to like police it as much due to the objectives. I think Norska will be good in Domination, actually, Ian. And I think before we get Norska back, I bet you they're going to get updated. Like, I bet you when the old world comes back, Norska is going to get some sort of an update with some new units. Like, Skinwolves will be really good against Ogres. Like, they're great, and they should theoretically hard counter Gorgers. No. Yeah, I mean, you already see Gorgers just going bananas in Campaign 2. Like, there's a reason why Scrag annihilates the Empire every time. It's because he starts with Gorgers and he recruits them. So, like, they just steamroll the Empire because they're too strong. Yeah, more games should do what StarCraft 2 did and have totally different unit stats for multiplayer versus campaign. That's true, but StarCraft is a game that's very heavily focused on multiplayer, whereas Total War is a much more single-player focused game with like a more of a niche multiplayer element. So, I don't know. I don't see... Though there are some employees at Creative Assembly who are passionate about multiplayer, like I don't see that being like a huge priority. Yeah. All right, so okay. While I was chatting with you guys, it looks like we had a little bit of a switch. We actually had Hadri's on Kislev still, but Xiphos chose Khorne instead of Ogres. Interesting. So the Blood God is coming in to exact his tithe here. I would imagine Scarbrand, he can rampage the Bear Chariots and do very well there. A little bit vulnerable to shooting, for sure. But okay, I'm excited for this. Bloodletters, Exalted Bloodletters are all on the table. You really just have to find a way to shut down the Bear Chariots, because those things are an unholy nightmare. They're an unholy nightmare. Yeah, Norska's for sure going to get an update, guys. Like, Norska and Warriors of Chaos are probably going to be, getting fat updates before they come back. I just want Nurgle Warriors with Halberds, me too. That'd be pretty sweet. Nurgle needs some dedicated anti-large, like, badly. Like, they're just such potatoes. Their only way to fight large is using a Great Unclean One. Like, everything else sucks. I love getting allied skin wolves as Inkari, yeah. That's pretty fun, Duff. I like that. Yeah. So Hadri's still scheming his build. He is up a game, so a little bit of a cushion here as we do enter these Slanesh Wastes. And yeah, we'll see what the players do. We will see what they do. Not as many good maps in Warhammer 3 as there were in Warhammer 2 for multiplayer, for sure. Like, we've been having a hard time digging through these maps, finding ones that are balanced for land battle. It's been kind of hard. Like, this one isn't even perfectly balanced either, but it's kind of what we have. Yeah, Nurgle should get, like, Pestigors with Halberds. Yeah, that'd be sweet. I'd be willing to wager, guys, a pretty penny that Creative Assembly is going to be adding in, like, a ton of, like, additional, like what? We still have Valkia. We have all these, like, Tzeentch characters that are mortals that just aren't in the game yet. Like, I can see CA doing something where they add in, like, a ton of, like, mortal support for, like, everyone, including characters and stuff. I can totally see that. That's gonna happen. Like, it's gotta be. You seem a little bit parched? No, quite the opposite, dude. I'm super hydrated right now. I've been going just deep in this water bottle over here. Is the Demon Prince usable in multiplayer? Not yet, but we're thinking about finding a way to bounce him. Or we're testing at the moment. Because with a little bit more testing, the Demons of Chaos might be a faction that we allow in multiplayer tournaments. I want to get like another 30 to 50 games with them so I can really like have a feel for them as a faction overall, but yeah. Do you think old Siege maps will show up? I think they're going to be reworked probably. I would imagine that's been like a large portion of the work that CA's been up to. Is like redoing all the Siege maps and things like that, yeah. Wouldn't it be funny if Norska just never got updated? They're just like the meme that just stays as like some potato from like 2017 just for like a million years. I do kind of like having one faction we can all make fun of, you know? I don't know. Valkia could be like, they could have her on like any number of the Chaos factions. Norska, like Khorne, like whatever. Yeah. Oh, baby, sign me up. So here we are in game 2 of the grand finals. It's going to be Hadri's up 1-0 at the moment here on Kislev, facing off against the champions of the Blood God, who's going to be led by Xiphos. But guys, check this out. There is an elemental bear. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Elemental bear, backed up by Kostalton and a Patriarch for the double heals. Frostmaiden of Ice. We have a Snow Leopard, Bear Chariots, and it's going to be a bunch of Kossars aside from that. Now, looking at the forces of the Khorne Dogs, it is going to be a bunch of Fleshhounds, it looks like. So it's going to be Fleshhounds, it's going to be Bloodletters, it is also going to be Chaos Warhounds, and this map, like, yeah, a little bit precarious. Like, deploying at the top of the hill definitely is pretty unfair. I might have to make, like, a snap judgment. Okay, he's deploying, like, in the middle, because, like, if you deploy back here, like, this is too much flank denial. It'd be almost like white line. But again, like, here, at least if he's deployed like this, like, Khorne can go up and around the sides and just, like, totally get a fair engagement against them, so... yeah, we will see. Light War Sleds into the sunset. Patriarch here, backed up by the Frostmaiden and Kostalton. For the Khornate army, it's going to be Bloodletters, I think, into the sunset. Yes, it's going to be Bloodletters with Khorne Dogs, double Cultists of Khorne, Chaos Furies up in the sky, and we do have a Herald of Khorne. My only concern with this army is it doesn't seem to have anything really good against the War Sleds. I guess you have to use your Khorne Dogs and other tools like that. But Kislev is more or less going for like a little box right there and just going to be chilling. Yeah, it's a bear box. The dreaded Kislev bear box. If Khorne had a pendulum, they would certainly be very, very happy right now. Oh, look at this. I have all these, like, oh, I can, like, ping things. If I ping, can the players actually see it? That would be really interesting, because then I could give warnings during the game, and they could see that. Yeah. Oh, man, I got to actually test that later. I know I can, like, draw things. We can talk about the strategy. The Khorne army, for sure, going to be attacking like so. Going to be going up after the Zine Sharp, the Kislev army. Yeah, I got to stop before I get too carried away with that. Okay, let's let that fade. Yeah, it is. I mean, both sides have a hill, but obviously it's going to be favoring armies that have, you know, shooting, right? But in this case, it's not that big of a deal because the Khorne army can just take its time and envelop them. So they could just like send units here and here and then just like do a surround. And it's not like the Kislev units hit super hard. If there's like downhill cavalry charges, things like that, it could be very, very nasty. Yeah, we're still playing with maps, guys, so take it with a grain of salt. Like, we eventually, like, after today's tournament, I'm going to look at all the maps and see which ones are really bad, and, oh my god, some crazy motorcycle out there, and cut them again. So yeah, the Bariots are going to be moving in, and the forces of Khorne will be advancing on the hill, but, like, honestly, I think the biggest threat to this Khorne army is going to be the Bear Chariots. Like, there's not much here that can really stop it, and that's kind of been the crux of the matchup as well in domination mode. I guess sending some Chaos Warhounds and juking their ammo is going to be, like, as good as it gets. And here comes the forces of Khorne. Bloodletter summons will be pretty good for breaking this formation. Like, what I suspect is going to happen is the Kislev infantry will die. Look at that, we actually get some hounds here, but the problem with hounds is their infantry size, so the Bariots can actually just attack them. But if you can, like, push those back, that's definitely going to be quite cost-effective. How many Khorne dogs do we have? 1, 2... And how is he going to kill the Elemental Bear as well with healing? Like, I feel like Xiphos' army would be much better with, like, a Greater Demon of some sort. Like Scarbrand or someone like that could actually get in there and fight and do some good work. So, Fury's jumping up, not sure what they're going to be accomplishing. Bear Sleds are actually taking some surprising damage from the Cultists, so pretty cost-effective there. But you're going to need to pull back here. And what Xiphos needs to do is just, like, move up here. Oh, look at this, I can actually do this. He needs to go like this with this force, and go here with this force. And then, like, crash in from the sides and the sides like that. He could send one up the middle if he wants to, and I do like what he's doing right now by summoning Bloodletters and just kind of alpha striking with his mobility to, you know, kind of mitigate some of the shooting and all that. But yeah, you don't want to be losing your cultists early. If you lose these cultists, you have, like, no answer for killing that bear later on. But Xiphos gets a really, really good engagement. Like, nothing in his army except the cultist is taking a lot of damage, but that's a pretty catastrophic mistake to leave your cultists in there. Those guys need to get back for sure, because late game, they're literally one of your only answers for killing the big units. And yeah, Xiphos gets a nice surround here. He's got Bloodletters inside the formation, and the other Bloodletters are charging in. And these ones should be able to get up and around the flank, while the Kossars are getting worn down. Value is slightly in the favor here of Hadri's, but, you know, despite the hill, I really think, I don't think the hill's making that big of a deal right now, if any at all. I really think it's just the fact that the two cultists are being used in a very sloppy manner. Like, I don't know why they're being sent in here. Like, these are some of your only SEMs you have to fight. Like, outside of this, how the hell are you going to kill that Elemental Bear and, you know, Kostaltin? Like, you need these guys to live. And the Snow Leopard and the Patriarch getting some nice shots there. Khorne surrounding, I mean, Khorne is getting really good engagements. And, like, Xiphos is actually killing it in terms of value right now. He's closing it in, but that's, like, value is only one variable. You also have to look at, like, the current state of the battlefield. And what is this going to be? Is this going to be an Ice Sheet or, like, a Heart of Winter or something? Oh, man. Is that a Heart of Winter? It is. The dreaded Heart of Winter is going down. Now, these units do have a ton of spell resist, so it's not going to be super strong. But Xiphos is losing the single entity model duel, like, super, super badly. You can see the Cultists of Khorne are getting absolutely smashed. And the Herald of Khorne's doing pretty good, you know, taking on the Snow Leopard, and the Patriarch's also getting a little bit beat up. But really, this is, like, just a case of, like, Xiphos has the tools to kill his entire army, but does not have the tools to fight his big Chungus. I guess people just don't expect the Elemental Bear. Like, I've lost games against this thing in land battles as well, because you just, like, it's kind of perceived as a meme unit, but then it comes in and you're like, oh shit, I have no way to do 10,000 damage to this giant frickin' bear. And yeah, like, the entire Kislev army's dead, like, more or less. The Chariots are, like near death. Like, it's just the characters. Like, these Kossars are going to be beat up. Like, does Khorne have any way to bump and grind with this? I simply don't think so. And look at this, the Herald of Khorne is being hunted by the big bear! I love the Elemental Bear, it is so cool. And it is just laying a huge paw beat down there on that Herald, and really showing that you need to bring, like, a Greater Demon of some sort. If there was, like, because, look, Xiphos did a really good job shutting down the entire Kislev's armies, like, shooting, and had there been shooting, it would have got massacred. I think if Hadri's had gone with the shooting build, Xiphos would have been able to swarm it. His build was designed for killing wide builds, but in terms of dealing with big monsters and, you know, kaiju battles and, you know, all that sort of stuff, and Godzilla, like, absolutely no answers for that. Like, Herald of Khorne's kind of cute. He can do a little bit of damage. Xiphos obviously has great control, and we'll get some nice charging. Horn of Khorne going down as well. And the Bariots are also getting beat up. But, yeah, like, good luck dealing with that giant Chungus bear. Really impressive, though, by Xiphos keeping the value despite, you know, things looking really grim. But there's no way. This bear could, like, solo everything here. Like, everything. And that's probably going to be GG. The dreaded bear. And, you know, I'm really glad that the hill actually wasn't a factor here. Like, you know, I was concerned when I saw the map. I was like, oh, yeah. Because the maps that we're using today are maps that are being used on Anticity's Ladder that are going to be coming up. So they were reviewed by some people. But I do think there needs to be more adjustments. Like, this could be a very unfair map had Kislev gone for a shooting build. But they didn't, so it didn't really matter in the end. Khorne actually outvalued them in the initial engagements pretty hard. But, alas, the bear is too much, and the healing is pretty big. I mean, is there any way the Bloodletters can grind this down? We got some Khorne dogs moving. Definitely want to chase down those bear sleds if you can. The bear sleds still have 3 of their 4 models, so chasing those down would be quite big for those Chaos Warhounds. But it looks like they're going to engage here instead. And the bear's actually taking a little bit of work. Oh my god, could we actually see some sort of a wild... Oh, the bear slap on the Herald of Khorne did a ton of damage. Okay, there is a Cultist of Khorne. Like, maybe Xiphos could have squeaked out a win if he had kept those Cultists alive. Losing the Cultists there is really, really rough. Here, the Patriarch's getting a little bit beat up. Xiphos trying to get his Bulldog mount up and around, and is going to be drifting in, but you can see army losses are kicking in as the Elemental Bear just cackling like the heathen kings of old. GG, well played. And that's going to be game 2, going to your boy Hadries. Yeah, that build was strong. Like, I was expecting like Streltsy and like a shooting build, which Xiphos would have easily countered. But the bear like tanky build with chariots and just like a couple Kossars, incredibly strong. Did the game crash here? If it did crash, it's fine. We could just reset it. No, looks like we're good. Okay, just loading out. All right. So the bear, an absolute monster. Like, with the healing, the chariots did good too, but really, guys, it was the bear. Like, nothing could kill the bear. It just was cackling in the deep. And the cultists were used in a pretty sloppy way as well. Like, if they had maybe been kept alive, they could have won the character fight. Ross, thank you. Greatly appreciate it. Been a member for a long time. It's 2-0 in the finals. Let's see what Xiphos can do next. GG. So next up here. All right. So next up, let's grab a map from the pool. And it is going to be the Troll Run. Here we go. All right, map set. Chatting with the players real quick, getting them ready for the next game. All set. Looks like, yeah, if we had seen like a Scarbrand, because Scarbrand is like basically like a scalpel. He's going to be able to dig out all those characters. Like, Scarbrand will beat down the Ice Witch, he'll kill the Patriarch, and he'll take the bear at the end of the battle too. Yeah, Xiphos is like, I was not expecting a bear build. Yeah, it was really, really strong. That was a great build by Hadries. I have to say, Hadries is really good at coming up with builds. It's been super impressive. Yeah, Xiphos right now saying, I expected a wide regular build with Little Grom Cavalry, you know, and then suddenly the dreaded bear blob comes in. Nobody expects the bear. Yes, perfect. I'm so happy the Elemental Bear is good in this game mode. I'm so happy. Dude, the Elemental Bear annihilated my Nurgle so bad. Thank you, Guy. How long until we see a barrier rework for Tzeentch? I have no idea. Thai Guy, so I personally think land battles are a little bit more fun to watch, but I do like playing domination quite a bit. It's very fun, and it's like you have to plan ahead. They're very different, you know. But we did talk about that quite a bit earlier in the stream. I went on like a 30-minute rant about it, so hopefully you'll be able to find that. Nobody expects the bear, yeah. Looks like Xiphos is going to go with Grand Cathay here. Cathay banning Khorne. Yeah, that's smart. And what will Hadries pick? So Hadries has played Kislev, and in the first game he played... who did he play in the first game? Tzeentch. So Hadries going for just like the really, really strong factions for sure. And what is he going to pick? Slaanesh. Oh my god, we got a Slaanesh pick from Hadries. Oh yeah. Slaanesh is... How are they doing today? They're 1-2. So Slaanesh won one game against Kislev. They lost against Tzeentch and Kislev as well. But the Tzeentch game was really well played by Xiphos. It was a close match. He can't go Khorne. Khorne is obviously banned. Yeah, no worries. It was much earlier in the stream. It was in the beginning. We talked about it. Hey. Scrubosaurus, how's it going? First time viewer. Welcome to the stream, man. Happy to have you here. Yeah, we're in the grand finals of today's tournament. Samurai was asking. But like, I think Zyphos' build would have been super good if it just like had a greater demon. Like a Bloodthirster or Scarbrand. I think he could have won that game for sure. Because that Kislev army folded like a piece of paper in terms of their infantry, but just no character fighting. Like, and the cultists getting karate chopped in that first fight was really rough too. So there was a couple of variables there, but certainly winnable. Certainly winnable. But like, that's the thing, like, I feel like a Khorne build can go wide too. Oh, is it going to be Ogres versus Grand Cathay? I love this matchup. It's really fun. It's really, really fun. Yeah, man. Bad showing for the melee factions today? Yes and no. For sure, but people are just learning. You have to remember. You also have to remember who's piloting said factions. Is Tzeentch not being picked? We've seen Tzeentch twice today. Tzeentch beat... Tzeentch lost the first round they were in. They actually got smashed by Cathay. Hadri's lost with his Tzeentch against Lupi's Cathay, I think. And then Tzeentch won against Slaanesh, but it was actually kind of a close game. So like Tzeentch hasn't been like super tyrannical today. Horus Heresy, thank you for the 20. Really appreciate it. Yeah, the Bear Cavalry are good. They're not bad. In that matchup though, like I don't know if you need them because Khorne's going to probably have halberds and infantry, so I don't think the Bear Cavalry are good there. Like maybe you could see one here, but it's going to be Ogres versus Grand Cathay. Which I honestly think Cathay does totally fine because Gorgers can be killed super quickly in this matchup by the crossbow fire and the harmony and all that. Ogres have had an okay run too. I think Ogres are undefeated today. I think they're 2-0. I can't remember. Maybe we've only seen them once. It all blurs together. It all blurs together, my friends. So today is Wednesday. Tomorrow I'm probably going to take off streaming. We got to work on the old website. Get that back up and running so all of you guys can see when the tournaments are going to be going down. Cathay cannons are a hard counter against Iron Blasters. Like, they annihilate them from a cost perspective. So you don't want to probably bring an Iron Blaster in this matchup if you're Hadri's. I think you just swarm and rush. You just get like a million Ogre Bulls and Gorgers and just like, you know, Man-Eaters and just go crunk. Summon the spirit of Little John and just charge in there. Dav, you know, Cathay has actually been super good today in land battles. Cathay has just been beast moding it. Been super happy with these games. It's been really, really fun to see. Yeah, mass cannons, cheap anti-large, cheap shooting. Yep, that's the way to do it. I agree. And if you guys are enjoying the tournament, do drop a like. As much as I hate asking for it, it is the nature of this business I'm in. Helps more people find the old multiplayer action. Thank you guys again for your support there. Two and Ogres. Oh, I like that. That's good. Do you have any tips on painting, on miniatures for painting skin and fur? It's hard. But what I like to do with like fur isn't too bad. So what you could do, for example, is like, okay, let's say you're painting like brown fur on some sort of a beastman or like a bear or something. You can just get like a color like Mornfang brown or some sort of a brown color that's darker, and you put the darker color as the base. Okay, so you get Mornfang brown, you color the fur, and then once that's done, you put some sort of a wash on it to like, you know, give it some depth. And then after that's done, you get a lighter brown, like a light brown color, and you dry brush. So you just get a dry brush and you dry brush the lighter color on the tips of the fur to like make it stand out, and boom, you're done. It's really actually quite easy. And you can do this with white fur too. You would just basically paint white, then you'd wash it with like Nuln or some whatever like scheme you want to go with. And then after the white has been washed with some sort of a wash, you get like a different hue, like a lighter white for the tips. So then the bottom of the fur is like darker and the tips are whiter. That's like how you would want to do it. It's so easy. Yeah, or you could use an airbrush. But if you're just like a beginner and you're using brushes, like dry brushing is your best friend on those type of things. Like for my Demogryph Knights, they have pallid skin, so they have like really like light skin, and then their fur is like a light white, and I just like dry brush the edges. Watch Hadri's go Stonehorn here. That would be pretty crazy. We haven't seen Stonehorn harpoon launchers be used yet either. Yeah, the new contrast paints are also quite good. I'm not a huge fan of the way they look, but they're good for like little details for sure, like painting like a leather bag and like things that are like normally kind of tedious. When it's a hot dog challenge stream, I don't know. So Ty Guy, if you want to play land battles, the best way to get them is to join my Discord probably and just and coordinate with people there, because you have to do it in custom lobbies. This is best of 5. So if Hadri's wins this next game, the series is over. It would be a 3-0. Yeah, it'd be a 3-0 for sure. So for a noob like you, what do I mean by washing? Okay, so you have like base paints and then you have washes. Washes are kind of like watery paints that like basically dye and give depth and like fill in the crevices of your miniature. So like, yeah, army painter washes are really good. But like, again, if you're a beginner, like you can even just use like Nuln Oil or like Agrax Earthshade. Those are like 2 of the best ones that I like personally. I would recommend like looking up some YouTube tutorials. I'm not the best painter. I'm like, okay. Samurai, you want to be in on the hot dog challenge? Yeah, you want to do it? Like an FFA stream is how we did it in the past. I don't know. I wanted to think of something a little bit more imaginative. We could have like a tournament where the loser has to like eat hot dogs. I don't know. Like each match you lose in a tournament, you have to like eat hot dogs. But then then you only eat 2 maximum, which sucks. I thought about instead of doing a hot dog stream where you eat hot dogs as punishment for like losing an FFA, it was like something spicy. So we eat like really spicy like sauce. I think that'd be funnier. That's like more suffering, but I don't know. Correct. Yeah, Nuln Oil is like, you'll have a model and it just looks like absolute crap. And you're like, man, like I'm painting like a 5-year-old. And then you just wash it in Nuln Oil and you're like, holy shit, suddenly I'm a masterful painter. It looks great, you know? Nuln Oil is insane. Yeah, that's the business right there. That's Old Faithful. Zyphos is flipping through the schemes here, trying to figure out what he wants to do. All right. Yes, hashtag soon. Is anyone welcome in the groups? Yeah, and these tournaments are open to everyone, dude. These tournaments are open to anyone. Like, you just need to join the Discord and sign up. And eventually you'll be able to sign up through my website as well, sometime next week. We just had to reset it because there were some issues with the host we were on and all that stuff. Yeah, you know, corn dogs could be better too, actually. I love corn dogs also. I could probably eat like 10 corn dogs. Yeah, probably. What if I'm not good with hot food though. My ancestry is Irish and Italian. I don't think those are cultures that really deal with spicy food well. And I don't. Like, spicy salsa can be punishing for sure to me. I think FFA is the best format for it because then like everyone gets punished except the winner, which is kind of funny because then they can like gloat and watch while everyone has to eat hot dogs. Yeah. Do I have an Instagram? No, I don't. Just YouTube and Twitter. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are in the grand finals. It is Hadri's on the Ogre Kingdoms with Grand Cathay, led by Zyphos of ODM. It is going to be an Ogre Rush. We have 4 Iron Guts, dual weapon warriors, saber tusks. This is just a pure bull rush, which I am super excited about. Oh my god, there's like a giant pawns here. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's hard to find good maps in this. It really is. It really is. Can you actually go through this water here? Is it like obstructed terrain? Okay, it looks kind of shallow, but then again, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you can go through that water. So yeah, ogres are just rushing, guys. There's like literally no crazy strategy going here. Just Noblars, Iron Guts, dual weapon bulls. Oh no, Iron Fists with the shields. Okay. Then we have an Ogre Tyrant, who of course heals in combat, and a Butcher of Beasts for Manticore Summon. Oh my god, we're going back to Warhammer 2. Saber Tusks. Now for the forces of Grand Cathay, it's going to be double cannon. We have a bunch of the Peasant Archers, Halberds and Spears into the Sunset, Longbow Riders, and we do have Dragon-Blooded Lord of Yin? Or is it going to be Yang? Where is that Lord? There it is in the back. Okay, it's going to be in. So we do have the Missile Reflection against the Iron Blaster. That's fun. And then we do also have the Ancestral Warrior Summon to get some extra halberds in there. Oh man, this is going to be some crazy stuff. Yeah, so what you would want to do with Cathay is just deploy back here. Like, probably just like right here is fine. Yeah. Just like shoot downtown. You're going to be able to get pretty good line of sight. This map's more or less fine. More or less fine. But we'll continue exploring maps. We definitely need some better ones for land battles. Like, the pool is very, very sparse right now. There's like probably 3 or 4 maps that I would say are pretty balanced, but the rest of them have like glaring issues as it pertains to land battles. I don't know if you're like, can you actually go in this water? Is this like shallow water? It looks shallow. Yeah, it looks like you can just run right through this. Okay. So that's actually not so bad. As long as this water can be moved through, then it's not like impassable terrain or something. I think that's going to be okay. And yeah, he's far enough from the white line, so he's fine here. As long as he doesn't like fall back here or something, he's okay. There's enough space to work with back here. Dude, the Manticore Summon, yeah, making a comeback. Cathay's going to need to make sure to keep that harmony. Don't want to spread out. But I feel like the Ogre Rush from Hadri's is going to be really tough to stop. That is so much meat. That is so much meat. Can you reflect the Iron Blasters? Yes, you can, and it's really, really good. It will almost two-shot itself. So it's a decent contingency spell to bring. I would definitely like to have seen some slows maybe or something. Yeah, we have the Ancestral Warriors, which you can use twice. And then Missile Mirror. So the problem is only 32 Winds of Magic are going to be used here, and then there's going to be a bunch of dead Winds of Magic, so a little bit problematic for sure. I actually don't know if you can even get through this water pond here. I have no idea. Yeah, well, we'll find out. Ogre's basically just going to be bull charging. That's it. Let us know your predictions. Who do you think is going to win? Yeah, if you can find maps that are more flat, like Oakenhammer style maps that don't have a ton of terrain, because if there's no objectives, terrain is actually really OP. Yeah, this is pretty close back here. I wonder if I can. This one seems fine, but this one's a little bit more borderline. Maybe I'll go ahead and shoot Zyphos a message real quick and just let him know before the game starts if I can actually give him a warning. All right, so where are you at? Cool. So I shot him a message. We'll see if he gets that. Yeah, I don't know if you can actually go in this water because I'm not seeing anybody move through it, but are we seeing... Okay. Yeah, okay, you can go in the water. Okay, that actually makes everything fine. Because I was concerned you couldn't go through here to attack, but it looks like the water, you can actually move through it, which actually favors the ogres because they don't get a penalty for fighting in shallow water, whereas basic infantry will. Yeah, cool. And it looks like he moved up that cannon a little bit, so yeah. Okay, yeah, it's just out of range there. Yeah, you would see a dark spot of the mini map, says Samurai. Thank you for the heads up. Okay, can Cathay hold off the dreaded Ogre Bull Rush? No Goldtooth, he's pretty terrible, unfortunately. Yeah, Greasus is just such a shitlord. He's so terrible in multiplayer. Honestly, he kind of sucks in campaign, too. Scrag is just exponentially better. Yeah, Greasus is, going to be our meme lord. You know, you got to have a meme lord. All right, so here they come. The Tyrant leads the charge. Whose speech are we getting right now? It looks like whoever's the host, the player one or whatever, we get their speech. Wonder if we're going to be seeing a Halberd summon. No Gorgers, though. I was really expecting Gorgers from Hadri's, at least a couple, just because of how strong they are. But Hadri's going for, the ultimate Chad win, trying to win without any OP units, which is certainly fun. Ogres, even without Gorgers and Iron Blasters, are a really strong roster. All their stuff having, 50-plus speed is just so incredibly good. So here they come. The Saber-Tusk's going to be lurking about. The back is pretty well protected. Long Marauders are holding down that flank. I'm really curious how the Ogres are going to do in the front line, though, here against Zyphos. Cannonball shots going in and getting some okay value. Some of the Ogre Bulls are getting popped, and Cannonballs going after the Iron Guts here. Pretty poor accuracy on those guys so far. Over here, though, it's a lot better. Obviously, these Ogres are in open field, so probably shooting both cannons down this way is going to be quite a bit safer, I think. Saber-Tusks lurking to envelop in the back, just making the very wide, circuitous route here for Hadri's, as the cannons continue to shoot in against the old Ogre Bulls with Iron Fists. There they go, getting popped. 300 value so far from Zyphos and his Cathay cannons. I would imagine we're going to see an Ancestral Warrior being summoned, although maybe he'll do it on top of the actual melee. I really like that Hadri's did go all in on the rush. He didn't bother, because if you had a couple range units, they would just get popped by the cannons. He is all in on this one playstyle, and it might work or it might fail horribly. We'll find out. Saber-Tusk's going to be lurking about. Halberds will obviously trade pretty well with him because they are large entities that do rampage. And on the flank here, Saber-Tusks do have an opening to maybe move on that cannon if they want to. There's a big opening right here for sure. But now the Ogres is coming to get you. Here they come. Moving on in are the Noblars. And it's going to be some big damage. As the Peasant Spearmen, they do have their Harmony, I believe, but the Ogres have gotten in there, and some of them are going to be rushing into the secondary, where there are more and more spears waiting and halberds and whatnot, so it could potentially get on there. But it looks like the Ogres are just pushing through pretty aggressively. Some of the Ogre Bulls with Iron Fists are getting a little bit beat up, and it looks like the Halberd Summon is going to be going down here. And now, here comes the old Saber-Tusks. There is a little bit of an opening. That cannon could get shut down here, which would be an absolute disaster for Zyphos, and it looks like these Saber-Tusks are going to commit to the fight to shut down the cannon. So they're basically sacrificing themselves to kill that cannon, which I don't know if it's worth in the end, but perhaps it could be. Now, the Cathay front line holding on like absolute chads. Look at that, man. The Ogre Bulls, as well as the Iron Fist there, just getting absolutely pushed back. Manticore Summon coming in as well. Value is favoring Zyphos here in this battle. And more Saber Tusks coming in the back, so one cannon is going to be fully offline, but, you know, had to sacrifice a couple doggo units to actually make that a reality there. It's so weird seeing a Manticore summon. Like, I have not seen a Manticore summon, like, be used in Warhammer 3 yet. I think this is the first time. And it's going to be going after the Dragon-Blooded Lord, which I think is a mistake, because that thing is just going to, like, run away and just guide it, and won't be too big of a deal. Now, a bit of a blunder down here for Xiphos. The old Flyers are left there, and the Iron Guts do get a decent engagement against them. This position is very, very compromised, and the other cannon is also attacked. How the hell did Hadri's get these Saber Tusks on this cannon? Man, and it looks like the Peasants are taking a little bit too long to kind of break those off. In the front line, the Ogres are getting through in some areas, but it seems like Cathay probably is still in a dominant position. I think the number of spears is going to be too much. Like, I think Ogre Kingdoms need to get some big magic to kill this many halberds, right? Like using the Maw or the Stonebreaker ability from the Great Maw lore or something like that. They just don't, like, Man-Eaters with pistols, Lead Belchers, they don't really have much to deal with all these halberds, right? Flock of Doom going down, which does some pretty good damage against these guys, and that's certainly a decent solution. Over here, the halberds are going to be summoned once again, so the ancestors of Grand Cathay will be emerging out, and they will surge out from the portal and will start attacking these foul ogres. And they are anti-large and armor piercing, so they should be a decent tool against these Iron Guts here, who look like they might want to withdraw from this battle. Xiphos still ahead here. The old Tyrant a little bit trapped up in the blob. What I'm really excited about in this series is actually seeing people have to pick factions they're not comfortable with if it does go very long, like Nurgle. And yeah, the Tyrant actually being taken out by the old Dragon-Blooded Lord here, as well as the Halberds, going to be chasing down that character. And I don't think the Ogres are going to be eating tonight. Looks like these Ogres are going to be going back to the Great Maw, disappointed as Grand Cathay's Halberd and Spear spam proves to be pretty good against the Ogre Kingdoms. No Gorgers, you know, none of those really crazy units here. And I think the Tyrant has fallen. No, he's actually broken. He's like, screw this, get me out of here. And all the haggard Cathay Spearmen are just kind of poking and prodding, and it looks like it's going to be going down, although the Tyrant does heal when it's in combat, even when it's broken, which is pretty funny, so it is able to kind of heal a little bit. 42 HP, only a matter of seconds before the Ogre lines buckle and break. Some Iron Guts and other troops have come back here. The Saber Tusks did a decent little dive on the Grand Cannons, but in the end, I think that's going to be it. The Butcher of Beasts, maybe a couple more Flock of Dooms will be on the table, but Cathay has gotten its Peasant Archers back online, which is going to spell doom for many of these Ogre units. And Ogres without Noblars fighting Halberds is not good. You need Noblars. Noblars are like the recipe for success for kind of holding those guys back. Players fast forward there. I guess it was like a little bit of a lag spike that just made it look like that. But 9,000 value to 7,000. So a 2,000 deficit. Grand Cathay does have its Air Force back up, and the Tyrant for the Ogre Kingdoms will no longer be reigning in tyranny today. As the Archers are secured, they have the Yin and Yang active, they have Halberds protecting them. The Ogre's going to be throwing the last of their troops in, but so far today we've seen the Ogres win one and lose one. I think they're 1-1 today. Maybe the rush build isn't the way against Grand Cathay. I really did like it from Hadri's. It was a cool concept, but I think you need more bunker busting on the Halberds. So maybe using like the Lore of the Maw to get like the big, the fist bump ability that drops down and does a ton of armor piercing damage could have been good. But GG, well played. That is going to be a victory for the Jade Custodians of Grand Cathay. Yeah, it was a fun one. It's a great game. Xiphos is on the board. Alrighty, so let's get the next game going. GG indeed. And the score is 2-1 as we continue to progress here in the Grand Finals. What are they going to pick? Is there going to be a wild Nurgle pick here coming soon? That would certainly be the stuff of legends, to say the least. Now, for the next one, we have... Man, my computer is making spaceship sounds. Oh my goodness. We'll do the turtle fields. I haven't heard it make sounds like that. Oh, it's probably because the sun is like shining on it, so it's getting all overheated. Old computer! One sec. Okay, you're doing okay. Hold on a little bit longer, buddy. I know you're like 7 years old and you're barely managing this game, but we're going to try our best. All right. All right, excellent. Excellent, excellent. And what is the pick going to be? Oh, it looks like Hadri's maybe going to be with Grand Cathay. I love seeing Grand Cathay do well. It's been so many weeks of them just being like pounded to dust in domination mode that like seeing them actually shine and work is such a refreshing feeling. Kyle, our glorious mod, Misha has dropped a link for you there. So there you go. Dwarfs vs. Cathay is going to be, yeah, that's going to be fun for sure. Hey, Turin, are man-eaters used in multiplayer? They are. Man-eater pistols especially are the best one. They're not like super common, but they certainly have a niche. They certainly have their niche applications. I don't know about basic man-eaters, but sometimes the great weapons plus the pistols are used. Do you have any insiders? You know, the first DLC I want is the chat DLC. Wouldn't it be funny if like Creative Assembly as a prank put up like a video about like, oh my god. Creative Assembly should do that on April Fools. March, April. All right, so yeah, if you're listening, if you guys put up a DLC announcement on April Fool's Day where like people have to pay $2.99 for like to get the chat feature in multiplayer to be able to chat to people, that would be so funny. That would be one of the most epic power gamer moves of all time. Like an April Fool's chat DLC prank coming from Creative Assembly. I don't think like they would ever like allow it because it kind of like, you know. But I think that would be so funny if they did that. Yeah. Yeah, the Ogre's pistols are really good. All right, so what is Hadri's going to pick here in this game? We have not seen his pick yet. When we get to game 5, we do the pick 3 system, so it's just going to be the 3 remaining factions, basically. Like, imagine some, like, epic trailer with, like, the ability to speak to your opponents in a chat room. You know, and it's, like, playing the metal solo from, like, the Kislev trailer. That would be so funny. Oh, my God. I would die. Yeah. That would be hilarious. So this map is pretty decent for shooting, although Kislev and Cathay, I think Hadri still has Cathay. No, wait, did he use them earlier in the series? I can't remember. There's been so many games today. Yeah, I wish we could chat like in lobbies. It's kind of like, why would you not launch with that feature? Yeah. It's like you just have to use like caveman symbols. Yeah. So we will see what Hadri's picks. We got a nice series on our hands. I'm glad that it's continuing on, but it looks like Hadri's is probably going to be playing Grand Cathay. After all, it is a Cathay map, so going for the home field defender. Yeah. Westsider, you were just watching one of the previous streams. Hey, right on, man. Shows a tasteful GLHF and half. It's more like if you're in a lobby with some stranger and like you literally just have to like pick factions. Like you can't be like, what map do you want? What do you want to play? Like you want to do domination? You just have to like guess. And like I don't even know how you can communicate there. I don't really know about formation attack with Cathay. I don't know what the consensus is myself. I would have to ask some of these players here. Yeah, there was chat in the beta. We did have chat in the beta. Yeah, and then it's gone now. So. Maybe they're reworking it. Maybe they'll come back with like a better chat that's a little bit easier to read and see and stuff like that. Zyphos is like, there's not much choice now. I just sent like they're in Discord talking and I'm like, and then I just sent a fat link of Nurgle walking. You know you want it. Oh man, that's so funny. Yeah, best of fives are certainly tough. It forces players to certainly test the breadth of their skill. Zyphos is saying, I haven't played Nurgle even once, not even in domination. That's so funny. Yeah, we're in the grand finals right now. This is the grand finals for all the marbles. The winner of our first land battle tournament. So this will be the first land battle tournament in Warhammer 3 here. Quite excited to see who will be the first champ. The legacy will be set in place. Hey, Ben, how you doing? Okay, so he's going to go Tzeentch. And Hadri's will probably pick Cathay, I think, would be my guess. Probably not going to see any Nurgle here in the grand finals. Maybe in game 5 we could see a Nurgle pick if like they just kind of run out of steam. Yeah, I'd be happy with like a new chat. Okay, so you guys see my mouse? Oh man, is my cursor not capturing? Oh man, I was recording videos and I think I forgot to change that back. Oh my god, my cursor hasn't been here the whole stream. I'm so sorry, guys. Hopefully you didn't even notice. But see where my mouse is? Like right here. Like this, if they had like a chat box that appeared right here that was like a big visible chat box, that would be super sweet. Like instead of that little weird one in the corner, like one that's always open and it's just like here and it's like a nice Nice box. That'd be awesome. Did anybody notice that my cursor was gone the whole stream? Nobody said anything. Usually people say something. I was recording some cinematic footage last night, so that's why that was the case. Remember, kids, don't play with Nurgle, not even once. Yeah, I guess people didn't even notice. You don't really need it. Like, you can still see all the action and stuff. It just, like, you know. Yeah, it was gone the entire stream, man. Hey, it's all good. We're having fun. Yeah, it's got to be Grand Cathay. Hadri's had a pretty decisive loss against Grand Cathay with his Zinch earlier, so I think he probably took some inspiration from that. Let's see what he picks. Is he official yet? Not sure. Yeah, we will see. We will see, guys. Man, I'm having so much fun in the head-to-head campaign, though. I think that's one of the biggest shining gems of Warhammer 3 is the head-to-head campaigns and like simultaneous turns. Like, that's probably been the most fun I've had in campaign. Like, playing with Professor Pone yesterday was such a blast. Like, I wanted to just keep going. It was so good. Like, Inkari and like all the shenanigans that the demon factions can do and head-to-head campaign makes them so fun. Mr. Pig says, Turin, we're used to you forgetting things all stream. That's true. Like the screen blocker as well. Yeah. Chat. So you can't get chat unless you pay for the blood DLC. Yeah, why is that even a DLC? Like the blood thing? Like, I don't get it. They just like give it to us for free as an option. It just seems ridiculous. Like I don't mind the DLC system for Warhammer. I think it's fine. I feel like you get like, you know, for how little you're paying, you're getting a lot of new content and a lot of new variety in the games. But like the blood DLC thing has always been like kind of like, yeah, I don't know. When you watch so many turn streams, you see the mouse with your third eye. Have your chakras been opened? Yeah. You can see it with your third eye. I think it's Cathay versus Zinch. That's what it looks like. The head-to-head is really fun. If you guys haven't tried that, like, it's so good. I think he's Cathay. He hasn't said anything. Okay, it looks like, yeah, he's Grand Cathay. Okay. He's, like, picking his army and stuff. Mr. Pig says, I think it's free if you've had one of the previous ones. Is it? Do kids? Okay, so yeah, interesting. If you guys want to know, like, my channel gives you a pretty decent look into the age of most players who play this old game here. So let me go. I can give you guys the analytics, and this is probably going to correlate pretty well to like the player base. Okay, so whoa, why is it all different colors? It's all scary. All right, so I'm looking right now. I'm trying to find it. There we go. Here's some interesting facts pertaining to who watches my channel, which again, I think is like almost exclusively Total War players. So my channel is 98% male, according to my analytics, and 1.7% female. 56% of the viewer base is 25 to 34 years old. 20% is 18 to 24. And 16% is 35 to 44. So between 18 and 44 are like the biggest brackets. In terms of like the younger audience, there's literally like almost no one under 18 who watches the channel. Almost no one, like 0.6%. We have there's more people over the age of 65, 1.2% who watch my channel than there are under 17. Pretty crazy stuff. And there's all sorts of interesting statistics. You can also see like who you have the most overlap with, like what other YouTubers, which is kind of an interesting feature. So for me, I have the most overlap with Legend of Total War and Milk and Cookies Total War. We share like a ton of like folks who are subscribed to those channels. As well with Tariff and Zerkovic and Italian Spartacus as well. The man, the myth, the legend. Rubber Duck Dov, the great Dov and Rubber Duck, McCoy. Anticity, yeah, a lot of people. It's kind of, the analytics are pretty interesting. It's definitely pretty interesting. The biggest audience is, so 37% of the folks who hang out here in the channel and watch these tournaments is American. Followed by the United Kingdom, which is 10.5. Germany with 7.2. Canada with 5.8. Australia with 4.1. And then it keeps going. Sweden with 2.8, Poland with 2.6, Netherlands 2.5. So if you combine like all the European nations, it'd probably be like definitely the biggest. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Boomers unite, yeah, all day. Yeah, sorry it's taking a little bit long. Obviously, we're in the grand finals here, so I'm not going to like push players to hurry up with their builds. I want them to be comfortable and not stressed because they've sacrificed their entire afternoons to play. Granted, there is a prize at stake, but they're still, you know, doing this for all of us. So I don't like to rush players with their builds, especially when we're in the grand finals. So hopefully you guys don't mind. Yeah, you did Anticity. Yeah, you and I share like a massive portion of subscribers. Yeah. Definitely a lot of folks. Yeah, YouTube's analytics are quite interesting. You can like see also what time on average like most of the people who hang out in the channel are on. Like, so you know like when it's best to post videos. Like for me, it's a terrible idea to post a video after like 2 p.m. Like it'll just get like massively less kind of, you know, outreach to all of you guys basically. Yeah. Do you think Cathay and Ogres will get Gotrek and Felix? No, I don't think so. I think Gotrek and Felix should just stay with like Empire and Bretonia and like, you know, dwarves and stuff. I'm from the 0.01% from Portugal. Right on. Yeah, right on. Yeah, definitely fun. Cathay's been performing pretty well today. We've seen them dismantle Ogres pretty hardcore, and also Tzeentch. I'm curious what Xiphos is going to bring. If Xiphos was listening to the stream earlier, I think he would have heard our analysis of what to do differently. Like, we saw the spawn didn't really work. I think we need to see, like, Doom Knights and Chaos Knights. Like, they're so good in this matchup, I feel. Especially if you can kill, like, the cheap halberds and spears with some magic. But, yeah, Forsaken are also MVPs, too. Definitely MVPs. What do you think of the Heralds with the 40 melee attack, AoE, and melee buffs? I used him with Skull Crushers in an opening against Cathay. Yeah, that could be good, Pious Skeleton. Absolutely. There's still so many undiscovered synergies, even though the factions are relatively small in terms of rosters because they're new. But yeah, there's a lot to be discovered, which I'm really excited to see. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Cathay has lost today. Cathay has been undefeated. So finally, for once, you know, one of the Cathay voice lines, they're like, never conquered. For once, it's actually true. Do you think the age 34 plus viewer base should get a buff to leadership and a nerf to melee defense? I don't know, Ben. Yeah. Do you think you'll mix bat? Okay, so I do plan on doing some fun tournaments at some point, like some funky ones where like it's a best of 3, but you have a land battle, a domination battle, and then like some, I don't know how we would decide on the third one, but like where you do mix the two. Where one round is land battles, next round is domination. Like, I think that's probably the better way to do it. Yeah. Yeah. Warhammer is huge in the UK. Godfather of 40k lives in your city. Right on. Right on. Yeah, I will be doing 2v2 tourneys. My only issue with 2v2 tournaments is they're usually lag fests. Like, I've watched them on other people's channels who've already hosted them, and there's like many of the games are just like potato slideshows. And I'm not down for that. Like, that is so miserable to cast and not fun for you guys to watch. So, but something I've reached out to, I've messaged some CA folks about is like maybe the potential of getting like a dedicated server for for the game in general, for multiplayer campaigns, for what we do. I feel like that could happen. Like, I don't know. I was skeptical at first, but I think it could happen. A settlement battle for game 3. That would be so unfair. All right, so Hadri's is ready. Xiphos picking away as well. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Domination to break ties could be cool. Yeah, you could do like domination as like tiebreaker. Hey, it could be a fun event. I never got into Stronghold, Kodo. No, I never did. Look, Empire and Dwarves are like two of my favorite factions, so I love playing Cathay in land battles. They're who I play in land battles a lot. Like if I was in a tournament, I would main probably Grand Cathay, Kislev, and probably Khorne would be my jam. Those would be the 3 that I would like main if like when I play in tournaments. The problem is there's not too many tournaments being hosted, so you know I'm here casting. I obviously can't play in my own events. I mean I could, but it's hard because during the course of the event, there's a lot of people who need me to officiate on rules or have questions about if they're new. They need help updating the brackets. So like if I'm in games, it's kind of like inefficient. You hear that? Anticity, Duck, and Dov, I need you guys to host some tournaments I can play in. I know you guys are lurking in chat. I'm calling you out. My 4v4 domination game was just a huge lag fest, says the Pious Skeleton. Yeah, it will be. I think a mix would be the coolest way of doing attorney domination and land battles. I think so, Ben. It'll be fun. I don't think it's like, yeah. Because there are certainly players who are better at one or the other. It's a very different type of game. Like in domination, like long-term planning is really important. Like allocation of resources, knowing like how much you need in one spot to hold it, like long-term planning for objective management. It's just such a different beast. Do you play Dawn of War? I actually didn't. Warcraft 3 was kind of my jam. Yeah, get to hosting, that's right. All right. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It is Grand Cathay facing off against Tzeentch. Tzeentch coming in with Doom Knights and a giant Exalted Lord of Chicken. Forsaken, Pinks. Army looks somewhat similar to what we saw earlier, but we do see a Doom Knight mixed in, which I think is a really good choice. I would like to see a little bit more kind of armor of that sort. Like, I don't know. Like, the Furies are really good here too. That was something we saw in the Tzeentch build earlier. There was no Furies, so having the Furies to sit on top of the Jade crossbows and just like tarp at them, I think is going to be really strong, or knock the cannon crews off, right? So looking at the forces of Grand Cathay, this is one of the few maps that's actually pretty good. Like, there is a slight hill for one side, but it's really not that big of a deal. It's a very slight grade. Forsaken spam into the sunset, obviously pretty good against the Cathay infantry, and the armor makes them slightly durable. Still pretty low melee defense and can be focus fired without shields, but not a bad unit by any stretch of the imagination. We got some pinks and blues for a little bit more shooting in the back, so it does give you some focus fire to focus down any number of targets. And we have the Exalted Lord of Chicken. He is going to be coming in with Searing Doom and Plague of Rust. Plague of Rust really good here. So if you Plague of Rust like a high value target or even a crossbowman and then focus them with your pinks, you'll actually kill them very, very quickly. I like this. I like this metal choice. I think the bombardment ability is going to be sweet too. And the ability to summon 2 Furies I think is much better than Kairos. And Doom Knights. Yeah, I love the build from Zyphos. I think it's good. I think I would have liked to have seen a little bit more armor, but I guess he's got Forsaken and Doom Knights. Can't ask for much more. And the Exalted Lord of Chicken is going to be quite great as well. So Cathay is just obviously setting up their battle lines right now. And yeah. Here's a little bit of a tricky spot. I mean, you can't really deploy your cannons here because then they couldn't shoot through the trees. Although, yeah, this would be like basically white line camping here. We'd have to make a verdict on that. That's the problem. So many of these maps are like so tricky. But I think right now Hadri's is just trying to figure out his lines. Let's see if they have any questions to me. Okay. Zypho says, I have no idea what I'm doing here. That's kind of normal. That is kind of normal. And let me go ahead and type to Hadri's. Cool. All right. Just sending an update to the players real quick while they deploy their armies. Very good. Zyphos, with the utmost confidence, saying, I have no idea what I'm doing in this matchup. Because again, in a best of 5, Zyphos is probably very practiced with Slaanesh and Kislev, but I think when it comes to Tzeentch, he probably hasn't gotten as much practice. Turin, in Warhammer 2, all characters had 15% missile resist. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think they wanted to nerf single entities, which I think is a good call. Like, maybe keep it on Nurgle characters, but everyone else, I'm fine with them losing their missile resist, because I don't like how durable SEMs were in Game 1. Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, correct. So if you join my Discord, there's a section where you can find your way to any number of other Discords. Like, so if you're looking to get into Anticity's Discord, like he's saying in chat, Anticity's also a mod in my Discord, so he can help and guide you in your journey to his realm. How are you able to spectate them? This is a live, so you can host lobbies in Total War Warhammer as a spectator, which is pretty cool. So I can basically sit here and watch the game. I can just be a little Nurgle fly on the wall and see what's going on, which is great. Just got here. Is it me? Or do the teams have a lot of repeat units? They do. Yeah, I mean, they're trying to take what's most efficient against their enemy. So in this case, Cathay is going to be taking what they think is most efficient and trying to bring as many as possible, which is fairly standard. Sometimes you'll see very mixed forces armies, but generally it's going to be like min-maxing what's best. So hopefully that answers your question. The 2 cannons are getting set up on the hill. This is definitely a decent little position. You do have to watch out for the dreaded flank. This is such a weird one. Yeah, look at how they kind of go up and down this hill here. Yeah. Tzeentch could do like a big flank up here, but I really think Tzeentch is just going to use the trees in the middle and push right down. This map is okay. This map is decent. As far as the maps we've had so far today, this is one of the better ones, but it is one of the better ones indeed. Yeah, and single entities now have the wound profile, right? So as they take more damage, they actually get weaker, which I think is a great change. It's a really, really good change. So when they get below, a certain percentage, they get more and more beat up, less effective. I think it's a great recipe. So front line is going to be Jade Warriors, giving the harmony to the crossbows, backed up by 2 cannons. And in the back, we have halberds and spears. Yep, very classic. We have the old tank and spank. The tank being the Jade Warriors, and the spank being the cannons and crossbows. And Tzeentch is just going to be getting in there, trying to get some good bombardments. Obviously, the Cathay formations are very, very static. They don't really move much. So the bombardment spells from the great lore of Metal Character, I think, could be quite good. Oh, height difference in this map is the best counter to Slaanesh chariots. They actually die from the fall damage if the chariots charge down the hill. Yeah, I've seen that. I mean, it's probably realistic, right? Like if a chariot actually flew down a grade like this, like a hill, it would probably just crash and burn. Yeah, that's really funny. All right, so somebody in chat saying, dude, I was in Khorne's realm as Slaanesh and I had to stop Greasus from getting the soul, so I attacked him. He had an all-Gorger Doomstack with a few Iron Blasters. Was a tough fight. I would imagine so. You probably have a good chance because the AI is controlling it, but yeah. And that's not even with Scrag. Scrag would give them a huge bonus of healing, which would probably doom you there. Probably doom you indeed. But yeah, Cathay's kind of a little bit of a diagonal slope here, which is fine. Tzeentch cackling, just being the evil changer of ways. The big chicken just waiting for that ready button to be hit so he can go and drop some sweet magic on the forces of Grand Cathay. That's so funny. That chariots actually fly down the hill and just crash and burn. That is so hilarious. There's a lot of weird Haggard stuff like that in the game right now, for sure. We're kind of in the Wild West right now. The game is certainly rough. But honestly, I feel like it's worse for campaign folks. There's more issues with campaign. In multiplayer, we have our balance issues, but we could just kind of address those with tournament rules for now. But yeah. By the way, Turin, I think you can left click on units to keep their info page on. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's really nice, Anticity. I didn't know that. So the Kraken King, Anticity, has taught me that I can right click on a unit and it'll keep their unit card up, you're saying? Okay. I think you can left click on units now to keep their page up. Okay. Does that anyways, right? But left click and then it'll stay? Okay, maybe not. We'll play with that more later. Thank you for that. Fall damage, yeah. So the cannons are shooting in. Oh, and the big chicken takes a cannonball to the face, but fear not, for Tzeentch has infinite healing. And assuming Xiphos jukes properly, all that damage that cannonball just did is going to be no damage because his shield will simply regenerate. Now, shields do get weaker as the units lose HP, but, if you don't lose HP and you just juke, the shield's coming back now. So, yeah, Xiphos is obviously a very, very strong tournament veteran, and he's going to be pretty good at juking, although he does take a little bit of a hit right there. So the first Searing Doom going to go down. And, ooh, man, look at the dreaded Searing Doom. Big damage against that Grand Cannon there. That was some sweet value there from Xiphos. He's got his Doom Knights lurking on the other side of the map, and now the big chicken's going to pull back. He's like, okay, I'm going to go back and let my Protoss shields regenerate. I definitely would like to see these Doom Knights get over here. I feel like they're very, very much off in the Shadow Realm here. But now the crossbow is going to be unleashing some hellish salvos. It is a dragon-blooded lord of ancestral summoning. So they are going to be summoning the Ancestral Warriors here, which are really, really cool. They'll be popping out of the portal and tar pitting the pink horrors. Great play. And he does also have the missile mirror, so if Tzeentch had some good shooting, he could reflect the missiles. The chicken does get hit with another cannon, but despite the fact that it's taken 5 cannonballs, its shields still haven't been broken yet. Nice little cast there in the back, able to kind of tickle the pickle of that cannon. Fury's being chased off by Longbows, and another nice bombardment there on top of the cannon crew. Basically, if a Fury dives these cannons now, they're more or less guaranteed to be offline. And the pinks and blues shooting in, getting a nice salvo fire. The cannon's getting absolutely nuked. Nice combos there by Xiphos, but the Forsaken in the front are getting shreked so incredibly. Oh, and the missile mirror! Guys, the missile mirror is being used. The pinks are trying to shoot. Oh my god, please keep shooting. I don't think Xiphos notices this. Okay, screw everything else. We just have to watch this. Oh my god, the missiles are bouncing back. Oh, that is such a gangster play. And now they're going back out, but it brought him down pretty low. And also did save a little bit of damage on his army there. Now, Fury's diving from all directions, but Grand Cathay's shooting is doing some nasty work. And maybe Forsaken aren't as good as people think in this matchup. Granted, some of the Forsaken up in the high ground tearing through these peasants, and these Jade Warriors will take some big damage as well. Pinks and blues getting some nice poke and stroke here. One cannon is offline, and so too is the other cannon. Oh, what is going on with tactical reserves, dude? Xiphos has two, like, full Furies over here that could be shutting down so much right now. And it looks like the Longman Riders up in the sky do get shut down. The Doom Knights, I'm telling you, are the business in this matchup. They defeat Longmas, especially with a little bit of support, because what happened was the big Exalted Chicken used the Plague of Rust on them, lowered their armor, and then Doom Knights just dominate. Absolute beast mode units. Now the battle's pretty close. The value is very even, bounce power is dead even, and now the tactical reserves are coming back in. The Plague of Rust play, super clutch. Longmas do come back, so too do the cannon crews, but you better watch out. The Dragon-Blooded Lord here is actually a little bit trapped up, and the Doom Knights have good mass as well. They're able to pin in that Lord. And the high ground Forsaken are a little bit harder to shoot. Pinks are still shooting pretty healthy here in the background. And Xiphos does have the big Goose. And the Goose is flying around with his big stick, beating down some of these units and also dropping those sweep bombardments and certainly sitting in a pretty good little position. Longman Riders did come back for one more charge. And it did a little bit of damage. They killed the Furies at least. Although I think those were fake Furies, yeah. And now the real Furies are fighting. And the Doom Knights are still going after what is going on? This Lord is like spasming out pretty hard. Doom Knights are such a cool unit. But yeah, they're getting great value here. And it looks like Xiphos is actually pulling ahead here in this game. Is this going to be the first time that Grand Cathay loses in today's tournament? They have won every single game they've been in. But it looks like Tzeentch, with the Lord of Change, it's the exact thing we talked about earlier. Like after the other game, we were like, you need an Exalted Lord with the Fury summons. And then also Doom Knights and or Chaos Knights. And the Doom Knights are proving to be a huge, huge valuable asset. Granted, they get a little bit beat up. Did that Dragon-Blooded Lord do the trick? No, it was actually the Crossbowmen. Okay. So the Crossbowmen were sitting below. Look at the value. It's dead even now, guys. This game is super tight. And it looks like there's going to be a Halberd summon coming down from the caster right now to try and push back the Doom Knights. And are the Doom Knights going to get trapped? A couple of them will get trapped in the Halberds. Chicken trying to help. Forsaken still bumping and grinding. And it looks like another Searing Doom is going to be coming down right here as well. And that should do some big damage. Nice shot there on the Jade Warrior crossbows, who do have the Harmony right now. They are protected by the Jade Halberds. And the Doom Knights get broken. And it looks like Hadri's is just barely climbing back in terms of the score. And the Jade Infantry and Halberds trading pretty well. And also you have to note, Forsaken will trade less effectively against the Jade Warrior Halberds probably because they have good armor piercing. So even though their melee attack is low, so too is the melee defense of Forsaken. So the Halberds should be able to connect okay with those Forsaken, especially if they're damaged. So now the Chicken trying to take the game into his own hands, attacking the Dragon-Blooded Lord, getting some big value, and the Chaos Furies of Tzeentch swarming from the other side for Xiphos and get an absolute hammer right here on top of the Dragon-Blooded Lord, who's now broken. This is really big, because now the Chicken can potentially carry this game. With the Dragon-Blooded Lord being gone, that's going to have a leadership penalty for Cathay, and is very, very good. Another Searing Doom going down, right on top of the crossbows. The spell seems to be pretty good. Oh, but the Lord came back! It was only terrified! The Dragon-Blooded Lord trying to do as much HP damage as it can to the Exalted Lord of Change. Doom Knights also coming back. They have insanely good leadership, and it looks like with that, the Dragon-Blooded Lord actually will be broken for real. Now down here, Jade Warrior Halberds continuing to fight against the Forsaken of Tzeentch. Blue Horrors here doing much of the same, trying to fight to the bitter end. Forsaken slowly grinding through. The Pink Horrors in the back, did they get Missile Mirror? They did! Oh, the Missile Mirror before the end! And the little Pink Horrors are returning the fire on themselves, but it's only going to last for one more second, so their volleys will go off. It only just got through their shields. It's better than a little bit of the shoot. You know, it's better on like Flamers and more elite shooting, but it's still not bad against these units, especially if their shields are down. Man, and Tzeentch was holding a Fury in the back pocket. And with this, Xiphos is actually bringing the game back with the big Chicken. And he's going to bring a ton of armor piercing. Lords of Change are actually really good fighters. They're much better than Kairos. They have 50 and 50 for their combat stats with 450, whereas Kairos is like 34 and 20 with like 420 weapon strength. So the big birds are actually really, really good fighters. And you can see the forces of Grand Cathay are routing, and it looks like army losses will potentially be kicking in relatively soon, as Tzeentch's big bird is going to be too much for the forces of Grand Cathay to handle. On top of that, there's still plenty of Forsaken. There's blues on the battlefield, and I think there's too much. And that is going to be taking us to a rubber match as Tzeentch claims victory. Beautiful game. That was a really, really good game. The Doom Knights killing the what's it called? The Longman Riders, and the Big Bird just being an absolute power player there really changed the dynamic of that. Which kind of makes you think maybe Cathay comes in with some Iron Hail Gunners to shoot down Doom Knights, right? Like, the meta is so fresh right now. It's going to be really cool to see how people adjust. But that seems like an even matchup to me, honestly. I like that one a lot. Now that Pendulum is banned, seems fine. So we're going to game 5. Let us do it. We'll give you some value on these units. We got 0 value on them. Need the car keys? Zach. And I will be back in just a second. Gonna grab some water. All right, I'm hydrated, and I'm good to go. For the last match, let's see what the players are going to do. All right, so now it is pick 3 system. Cool. So Xiphos has Ogres, Khorne, and Nurgle to choose from for his remaining 3 factions. So winner picks 3 and bans 1, etc., etc. So his 3 will be what he has left. Just explaining the picks for the final round here. Yeah, it's kind of tricky when you get to best of 5 because you run into so many. Xiphos has. He's like, I've never played Nurgle before, but he does have Kislev and Ogres. So he has 2 really strong factions here, honestly. He's got 2 really strong factions. Yeah, certainly going to be in okay shape. All right, for the next map, let's go ahead here. And like, I think I'm just going to do one that we might have already done earlier, just to make sure, since it's a rubber match, I don't want it to like come down to a map problem. So we're just going to have them on like the flats of Kislev. It's like one of the better maps. So we're just going to give them that map, even though we've already done it, because I want this to be like a good, fair game here. Yeah. Austin says, Turin recently returned from a 7-month deployment and finally been able to catch a stream, ride the lightning. Hey, man, welcome back. Glad you're safe, and cheers, man. We got some good stuff going on for you here. We got some good stuff. Nurgle, you guys really think there's going to be a Nurgle pick? What happens if somebody doesn't have the Ogres? Well, Shetland, then they have 2 choices. But most everyone who's playing in these tournaments will have Ogres, because, you know, I think if you buy the game like during the week of its launch, it's going to be good. Yeah. Yeah, Pendulum is broken at the moment. Yeah. Correct. So Xiphos will ban 1. Yeah, we're working this out. It's our first land battle tournament, so the pick and ban system might not be perfected yet. We'll collect some feedback on that later, but should be fine. Should be fine indeed. I'm going to feast like the heathen kings of old after this stream. I'm so excited for that. Yeah, it's kind of a funny one. We might have to rework the way best of 5 works since we only have 7 factions now. Like, it's obviously in Warhammer 2, it's different because we had 15 factions, right? So it's so different. So different. But here we're working it out with the lads. Okay. So he banned Slaanesh. Interesting. I would have left Slaanesh open. Xiphos is like, where are my elves? I want to play my elf factions. That's so funny. He's just like, I don't play the... He still has Kislev, though. Hadri says your elves are with Slaanesh. Well, it's just true. I suppose the cultists of Slaanesh are elves, so that's as close as he's going to get to playing with them. The Rocky theme music? Yeah, it's queuing. Would a Cathay Magistrate with an Air Mortis change the balance of... No, it wouldn't, because the Mortis engine doesn't do much damage against small unit sizes. It would be pretty poor. Honestly, if you want to win against Doom Knights, you need to have like Miao Ying or the Iron Dragon. Like one of the Dragon Lords will come up and help you win that fight. Especially, yeah, either of them would. Miao Ying will give a melee attack buff, and the other guy can also give a ward save. So plenty of options there. All right. So I think Hadri's is going Slaanesh and banning Kislev. Oh my god. If Xiphos knows how to play Nurgle, this is like the easiest matchup ever. Like Nurgle literally destroys Slaanesh in land battles. It's like not even close. So if Xiphos has like any inkling on... I'm not going to say what to do because he might be listening and would just copy it and that would be kind of unfair, but like I have never lost this matchup and I played it like 10 times. Okay, never mind. He picks Khorne. Okay, so Hadri's is Khorne, which honestly Nurgle has a great matchup into. Has a great matchup into Khorne. You just have to know. But Hadri's has kind of practiced it with me a little bit, whereas Xiphos is going to have to go either Ogres or Nurgle here. Yeah, Ogres or Nurgle. That's what he's doing. Yeah, Final Transmutation can definitely help out, for sure. For sure, man. There's ways to do it. Yeah, Doom Knights are pretty sweet, though. They're a really cool unit. Jake says, I just spent 41 bucks at a barbecue place all for yourself. You deserve it, Jake. I've done similar things, for sure. I definitely have. Okay, so we got Ogres versus Khorne. This is a very fine matchup. Totally fine. I'm curious what Hadri's will do differently. We saw Khorne lose this matchup in the semifinals. But, you know, that was and so Zyphos was playing Ogres then too, so he already probably has a build. So at least Zyphos knows this matchup. It's not like it's some like matchup he's never played before. Yeah, we'll get to the bottom of it. You gotta ban Kislev here. Kislev is really strong. I think you gotta ban him. I'd rather, although ogres are a pain too. I don't know. Would I rather face Ogres or Kislev? It depends on what I'm playing, I guess. I feel like I'd rather play Khorne into Kislev, but the Bear Chariots are such an unholy nightmare. They're so hard to stop. Definitely very, very tough to stop. Ogres, here we are, the battle for Middle-earth. Game 5 in the grand finals. Let us put it to a poll. Ogres, and we got the hype poll coming, guys. All right, let us know where your allegiance lies. Who will be claiming the prize for today's tournament and winning the first land battle tournament here in Total War Warhammer 3? Let us know. Quite hyped for this. Yeah, Khorne is fun. Khorne is very fun. I definitely enjoy them a lot. One of my favorite factions to play in general. Just cool units, really nice aesthetic. The big scary demons are also very good, which is fun. Like I like being able to use the big toys. It always sucks when like, you know, you're playing in, you know, tabletop 40K or fantasy or whatever, and like you have like some huge cool monster and it just sucks, you know, you can never use it. But that's what's like really cool about Khorne is like their big demons are really good. Guys, we are in game 5. These two players have been extremely evenly matched, which has been a lot of fun. Please, Zyphos, bring 5 Iron Blasters and 7 Gorgers. No, that is actually banned. You cannot do that. You can bring 2 Gorgers, which wouldn't be bad. 2 Gorgers and Scrag is still very strong, plus an Iron Blaster. It's a very powerful opening for the Ogres. So we see where your allegiance lies. The Wah being yelled by Anthony. I love it. Carrot Shell, did I miss your donation? Thank you so much. I might have. Thank you for that, though, if you're still here, bud. Gotta support your boy Khorne. Ogres are definitely scary. We've seen Ogres do pretty well, especially with Man-Eater pistols. I wonder if Zyphos is going to try those. This map is relatively flat and open. This is like one of the few good multiplayer maps we found. So when I have a little bit of time, I'll go through like every single map and definitely go through that. And definitely go through those. If Hadri's doesn't bring Scarbrand or some other creature, it might be tough. You could use a Herald in this matchup too. Ogres don't, I mean, they have a Stonehorn, I guess, which is like a big problem maybe, if you don't bring a big demon. But usually like Khorne's going to spam Halberds here, backed by like Spawn of Khorne. I wonder if we would see like a Bloodletter build just to cut through Noblars a little bit quicker. Like, what about Exalted Bloodletters? All right, the poll is concluded. You guys think the Ogres is going to win? Well, a majority do, but we'll find out. You can never count out the Blood God. Plus, who knows how practiced Zyphos is with his Ogres. We will find out. We will find out indeed. Hey, you know what, guys? On the bright side, for all of you Nurgle fans, at least we did have a Nurgle game today. At least they were here. Though they did get massacred in about 10 seconds, Nurgle at least made an appearance. In Warhammer 2, there would often be entire tournaments where factions just would never appear. You just wouldn't see them. So, you know, you Nurgle fans can hold your head up high. He was filled with arrows. And certainly didn't enjoy it. Ogre free company spam? Yeah. There are a couple of fairly decent purple maps. Yeah, I'm going to go through and like do a list of maps that I think are fair. I just haven't had time in the past few days, but like over the weekend, maybe I'll jump on that. The Shrek Kingdoms, yeah. It's basically what's going down. It's basically what's going down. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we are here in the grand finals. It is going to be Khorne, led by Hadri's, multi-time faction war winner, facing off against Zyphos, ECL champion. It's going to be a duel of fates. Quite excited for this. So for the Ogre Kingdoms, we do have a Slaughtermaster of the Great Maw. Obviously has some nukes and heals. We have Gorgers, Noblars in the front, backed up by ye old Ogre Bulls. So it's just going to be basic Ogre Bulls and some Iron Guts. Iron Guts, of course, have solid armor piercing, so helpful against the Khorne armor. A couple Saber Tusks on the flanks, Man Eaters with the Ogre Pistols, and an Iron Blaster here for Xiphos. Yeah, pretty. I mean, he's got the good stuff. Double Gorger, Iron Blaster, bringing the best of the best. Now for Hadri's, it's going to be somewhat similar to the build we saw earlier, although, whoa, where is infantry? Whoa! Where are they? Does he have any infantry? Okay, he's got one halberd, guys. He's got one halberd, 3 spawn, a Herald of Khorne, double cultists to give him some infantry, also some Furies and Khorne Dogs to swarm the flanks, and Furies and Khorne Dogs. This man has 1 infantry unit in his army. I love it. I mean, granted, he has the ability to summon 2, which is going to be super helpful, but it's just a single dreaded halberd pick. Okay, like this build, I would not expect this. He's actually got a ton of Khorne Dogs and Furies to like try and swarm and get on top of things, and just like Spawn of Khorne is basically his front line. Wow, this is a very manly play here by Hadri's. I love this build. I think it's so fun. No Greater Demon though. This is only my only Starro here, but you know, the Herald of Khorne is pretty good. He does have that nice Rebel and Slaughter buff, so he can drop that, and then also the Locust of Wrath on top of some Spawn is going to be very nice. My favorite multiplayer faction, I like Kislev a lot. I just like their aesthetic. Now, looking at Xiphos in his army, he's got some Noblars in the front, Man-Eater pistols on the hills, like we said, and we saw this earlier, and Gorgers, Iron Guts, and Saber Tusks. Dude, that is a wild, crazy Khorne build. Hadri's has been scheming in the depths of the Total War Warhammer servers with this. Just the single dreaded halberd. Yeah, this is a pretty intense build. I mean, Spawn of Khorne trade really well into Ogres. Not so much into Iron Guts, but into Ogre Bulls and those type of units. These guys hit like trucks, and they have almost 10,000 HP, so they're not as squishy as people think, but yeah. 10 armor definitely doesn't help. But they'll cut through Noblars very quickly. Xiphos is going to see this build and probably be pretty surprised. Although the Iron Blaster is going to be super good here, it's really going to do a ton of damage against these Spawn on the approach for sure. Yeah, just big. It's basically Ogres on Ogres, right? We get the Ogres of Nurgle, or excuse me, of Khorne. And I think of all the Spawn units, I think the Spawn of Khorne are some of the better ones. They're very, very hard-hitting. I mean, 190 weapon strength is pretty insane. Like, if you look at some of the stronger Ogre units, I mean, 90 weapon strength here, 90 here. So they literally have 100 more weapon strength. Like, I'm pretty sure a Spawn of Khorne can take on 2 Ogre Bulls by itself pretty decisively. I don't know. Have to do a little bit of testing. But yeah, single halberd unit. And, you know, you get a little bit of infantry buffering via the Cultists of Khorne. Really good gooning potential, too. So Hadri's is rushing in super hard. And with the Furies and Khorne Dogs, like, he does potentially have the opportunity to defeat the Saber Tusks and all those other units and, you know, things like that. We'll have to see. But Khorne looking to get that surround. And it looks like this lake in the front. Yeah, so you can pass through that one. Maybe the dogs are just going to circle around the back and get, like, the big envelop here. I think that's what it kind of looks like. Spawn are moving through the trees. And, yeah, Spawn here also getting shot. The old Iron Blaster being nice and OP, although right now it's basically doing the work of a cannon, so it's not like too bad. But it looks like the Khorne Dogs are going to come all the way around the side. Yeah, they can totally move through this shallow water, I think. I just think, can they actually go through here? It's like hard to tell. Yeah, they can actually move right through here. Okay, so there's an opening to get in there, but it's guarded by Gorgers. So you're going to want to probably go like further around and just like get a full surround here. But really the name of the game so far is the Iron Blaster. It's been super devastating. Fury's flying over, kind of scouting out the Ogre army. Hadri's is immediately going to be seeing the Gorgers and all those units. Probably going to pin in these Man-Eaters. It's kind of what it looks like. Like, that would probably be the play, to attack the Man-Eaters from the back with the Flyers. And then maybe just hammer them in the front with the Spawn. Khorne being pretty cautious with his advance. Spawn of Khorne now being given attack orders here. You can move through this little lake as well. You definitely can. And the Furies overhead, looking about, just scouting even further. The entire Ogre army should be visible to them now. So I think Khorne more or less knows what's cracking now. There's no more funny business. What you see is what you got. So Khorne Dog's actually going to be used in the front to feast on Noblars, which I like that play. I think it's good. Like, just clear them out even quicker and get to the meat of the army, which is the Ogres. The 2 Cultists just beelining back here, trying to get on top of the Iron Blaster, which I think is a good play. And the Iron Blaster will take a hit from one of them, it looks like, as the Spawn of Khorne do move back there. And there is going to be a summon of the Bloodletters on top of this, which will be good. That'll help peel off the other Hound units and whatnot. Now, Halberds and Khorne Dogs have engaged in the front. Spawn of Khorne have taken out the Noblars. No surprises there. And the Furies now are going to be descending on the Ogre army, but the Ogre army just seems so powerful. It's like there seems like there's so much here to deal with for Hadri's. Bloodletter summons, trapping the Gorgers, but Gorgers probably won't have too many problems with that. Halberds moving into the Ogre Bulls on the flanks. Now the Herald's going to be going for a gooning opportunity on the Slaughtermaster. Should trade pretty okay there, as Cultists in the back are actually intercepting these Saber Tusks. So they do get there, and the Saber Tusks are going to be shaken and stirred and out of control, as the Furies really give them the business. However, the ogres have a lot of reinforcements here, so they should be able to kind of pile in and fight. Honestly, starting to think this matchup might be a little bit hard for Khorne. Like, I don't really see much that... I mean, maybe it was just the army that Hadri's brought, but I don't see like a lot being trading super well into this ogre front line. Saber tusks are getting broken. The cultists able to push back the old ogre bulls, and the cultist is chasing down the Iron Blaster, but the Iron Blaster is pretty well protected. One Fury unit does go down. Will the cultist be able to keep pace with the Iron Blaster? I don't think so. These things are just such an unholy terror. 66 speed and like high armored, like really, really tough to kill. And the Spawn front line, the Halberds are like one of the few decently performing units. The Slaughtermaster is taking a bit of damage, but the bounce power is definitely in the favor of the ogres right now. Nobblar's here being chewed on. That's really unfortunate. You have a unit of Spawn rampaging and just chasing a shattered Nobblar. That's like really, really poor value. That sucks so bad for Khorne. And I guess that's one of the problems with the Spawn in general, right? So the Khorne Dogs jumping on top of the Man-Eaters. They only have 40 armor, so Khorne Dogs will actually be very good here. I would actually like to see these other Khorne Dogs from Hadri's sandwich the Man-Eaters. I think that would be a really cost-effective swarm. In the back, Saber Tusk being taken out by Chaos Furies. In the front, we do get the Horn of Khorne being sounded once more in the deep. And the Cultists and other units going to be layering on top of the Gorgers, which immediately take 2 casualties. They actually take quite a bit of damage. And the other Hounds do jump on the Iron Blaster in the back. Is there any way for Khorne to get back in this game? Maybe if they have another summon in the back pocket, it's certainly possible. Like if this Iron Blaster also just randomly dies here to some Khorne Dogs, I think that is going to be a huge leg up for Khorne. And they are killing the Gorgers actually rather effectively. Man-Eater Pistols a little bit trapped up. And now the Fleshhound's going to be charging back and going to intercept the Gorgers here? Interesting. Gorgers should be able to take them down pretty quick. Slaughtermaster of the Great Maw, where's he at? He is, he's casting something. I think it was a Troll Guts, or a Bull Gorger here, so that's going to be giving some combat prowess to those guys. Man-Eater Pistols do kind of squeak away. Hadri's a little bit behind on value by about 2,000, which is really, really tough to come back from. The Gorgers are just trading so cost-effectively. And, you know, the Halberds actually ended up being a great performer. They seem to have been grinding and staying the course. I think the Spawn were actually not as good as we thought. I feel like the Spawn just kind of rampaged and didn't go after. And I really am like, yeah, the Greater Demon is risky, though, because if you go Greater Demon against Ogres, they just have an Iron Blaster and Man-Eater Pistols here and, like, all sorts of scary stuff. I do like this big, like, attempt in the back by Hadri's to try and take down the Slaughtermaster, and it looks like the Slaughtermaster might actually break, but Khorne simply just doesn't have the staying power anymore. Like, the Spawn rampaged and just, like, chased after random shit on the map, and that seemed to be really tough. But nice snipe here by Hadri's. He does kind of bring the value back a little bit right there by taking out the Slaughtermaster with his boys. And the Khorne Dogs still chewing away, but the Gorgers have 14 models. We also have Iron Guts back here. This fight on the low ground is going very cost effectively. Like, this majorly sucks for Hadri's. Like, this Spawn, which, if it was here, could be turning the tide of any number of these battles. But instead, the Spawn is, like, chasing a shattered unit of Nobblars. Like, I actually think if these Spawn had come back, like, Hadri's did a really good job tying up the score here. But the fact that his, you know, expensive Spawn unit is just waddling around chasing 9 Nobblars is such a horrible feeling. That's got to feel really bad for Hadri's. And there's literally nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. Like, just, these units are just going to chase these Nobblars into oblivion. Like, you know, the sun and stars are going to have died out, and those things are still going to be chasing, like, the 3 or 4 Nobblars. That's rough, man. Because he actually had an opportunity. He killed the Ogre Lord, right? And if the Spawn were here grinding, maybe it could have been different, but now it's too late, obviously. And the Ogres are probably going to be clinching victory here. Yeah, Ogres are a really strong faction. Khorne, I think, has some tools to beat them, but I still feel like it's pretty Ogre favored. It's all Ogre now. And I think the best answers to the Ogres are probably Cathay. We've seen Cathay dominate the Ogres on multiple occasions, and I think Kislev is also good against them as well, but in terms of the Demon factions, they don't seem to have too many good options here. Yeah, that's a rough one, and now the Spawn are finally going to get another good fight, just waddling and battling some Ogre Bulls, which will be great for them. The Spawn will, of course, win this fight. They're gonna chop through them like butter, but look at these Spawn. Oh, God, you know, 1,000+ gold unit getting 129 value just because it killed Nobblars the whole game? That hurts. Yeah, I thought Rampage, like, stopped, but they just kept rampaging the whole game. Tabletop Spawn experience? Yeah, no kidding. I liked the build. I thought it was very innovative from Hadri's. The Spawn were huge underperformers, though. Not a single Spawn paid for themselves, and that was really the backbone of the build, right, was the Spawn. I think you still got to go Halberd spam. Like, the Halberd at least almost paid for itself. I think, like, just mass Halberds and then, like, this kind of, like, swarm is still good, but like, maybe you do have to go with a Greater Demon and just juke and hope you don't get sniped. I don't know. That's a matchup that definitely need to go to the drawing board on. But with that, Xiphos is going to be the winner with a reverse sweep with the Ogre Kingdoms. Man, crazy, crazy series. Really unfortunate for the Spawn there chasing off those Nobblars. Yeah, that was a great series. So congratulations to Hadries and Zyphos. That was a really fun tournament. I know the maps weren't perfect, but it's our first one. We don't have that many maps to work with, so it's going to be something that we will be improving and trying to figure out, because we have limited tools to work with. There's not a whole lot we can do there. So in the truly haggard Turin fashion, Zyphos will be advancing on, and he will be the winner of our first land battle tournament. GG, well played. Great stuff from Hadries, Zyphos, Loopy, and Big JP. All of them were champions, grinding through all the competition, making it here to the grand finals. So if you guys did enjoy the stream, do drop a like on the way out. Gets more people involved in multiplayer, helps support the community, all that sort of good stuff. We'll be back with more tournaments soon. Not sure when. Maybe Sunday. We're not sure yet, but maybe Sunday for sure. GG. Yes, GG indeed. It was a lot of fun. We had a good time. Got to see some weird matchups. Cathay doing really well. Cathay did lose to Zinch, though. Zinch was able to get the nice W there. And that will be it for today. So, once again, thank you all for joining. We'll be back soon. Appreciate you all. And yeah, all hail the Wookiee. He's up in the corner with his glorious paw waving goodbye to you guys. So thanks again for watching. And thank you all for the donations and support. It's been great. We'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves.